Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Greenwood City Council meeting this Monday, April the 1st, 2024 at 7:03 p.m. Ms. Derry, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. AC Brown.
Here.
Ralph Meeker.
Here.
Tim Terry.
Here.
Roger Rainwater.
Here.
Daniel is absent or not present, and Rod Powell is absent, but we do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. If everyone would please stand, we'll begin our meeting this evening with our prayer led by Nick Coleman from Free Will Baptist Church and Pledge of Allegiance by Chief Brian.
Let's pray together. Well, God, we are thankful for another day, another time where we are able to sing praises unto you throughout the day. Lord, we're just thankful for all the many blessings that you have given to us. And Lord, today we're thankful for our city. We're thankful for the place you have allowed us to live. And Lord, I pray that in this meeting here tonight, that even in this, you may be honored and glorified through what is said and done. So Lord, may our leaders of our town, may they lean on your wisdom. May they not lean on the wisdom that comes from the world, but may they look to your word as their guidance. And Lord, we give you the praise for it tonight. And so, Lord, we pray that you would be with our city tonight. You know the weather that's coming in. We pray that you would be with our law enforcement and first responders that will be out in the midst of it all night long. May you keep them safe. May you keep our city safe. And Lord, we're just thankful for all that you've done, the many blessings that you have given to us. And the big thing that we can be thankful for here tonight is how you've given us your son. And Lord, we're thankful that we can lean on him, that he can give us strength and salvation. And so, Lord, I pray that you go with us through the night. May you bless this evening and bless our town in Jesus' name. And amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I would ask the council to consider approving the minutes for the March 4th, 2024 regular council meeting, please. I make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Meeker.
Yes.
Mr. Terry.
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is recognitions and acknowledgements. I'd like to acknowledge, if you will, where is Casey at? There you are, hiding in the back. So Casey, Bell Park held a spring market for the Adaptive Playground Project this weekend, and it was hugely successful. I don't know what kind of money was raised or anything like that, but it was a great turnout. I'm not sure it wasn't. How many vendors did you have, Casey? 60. Okay, that's awesome. And so very much like a fall festival up there, and it was just a great atmosphere. So thank you for doing that, and pass that on to your committee if you would. Great, that's great. So excellent. Thank you again. We have on our committee reports, I think most everybody's turned one in. There was a couple of them I didn't get to check before the meeting. But as always, if your council or anybody else needs more information from these committee reports, the Boys and Girls Club, SRCA, Parks Commission, Waterways Commission, certainly get with Danielle and we'll get you any missing information. Mr. Purvis, I believe, wants to speak a little bit on the economic development.
Yes, just real briefly, y'all, on your computer, Charlotte has put a link to a website on your Google. We put together a complete set of data and information about the eclipse, about traffic, what to see, what's being done. It's both for local use and for the use of our guests. And remind you that Wednesday lunch, we're having a meeting to talk about having an astronomer and learn a bunch and emergency management.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I was getting my instructions for Charlotte. Did you mention the date of the meeting?
Meeting
Wednesday? Okay.
7:30, Bell Park.
Okay. You probably just said that. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. I think it'll be very informative. Thank you, Bob. Citizen Forum. I do not have the, that's okay. That's all right. And thank you for the glasses. I'm assuming you brought these up. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So we still have more, the chamber has more?
Yeah, we had got some, we ended up getting some back order farmers from the school system. They had enough for their kids. We initially provided enough
Yep.
for them. We still got some, y'all still got some.
Yep.
Review Friday, there we go.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, appreciate that. All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is the citizen forum. We have 3 that has signed up tonight. And if you would, when I call your name, if you'll come to the microphone, state your name again for us for the recording and your address, and then you each have 5 minutes to address council with any of your thoughts, questions, or comments. So first on the list is Steve Beam.
My name is Steve Beam. I live at 2723 Milltown Road, Greenwood. It's not in the city limits, but anyway, so I don't know what I want to talk about. There's a resolution that the beneficiaries of the SCRA are talking about and passing. Barling's already passed it. Fort Smith's supposed to tomorrow night. I think maybe y'all's attorney has it, but it has to do with dissolving the FCRA. So I just wanted to give y'all a little history on it. I know y'all hadn't been as involved, but you are a beneficiary, an equal beneficiary to the other 3. The way it works in the end, whatever money is left over gets split 4 ways. So it's an even split. It has nothing to do with what city limits it's in or anything. So, you know, everything went well out there for several years. Recently, Rod and I have done a bunch out there, and probably 3 years ago or so, we noticed that it was more difficult negotiating. Didn't know what the problem was. Found out shortly after that the executive director was given a 2% commission for land sales. So then we figured out that's where the issue was. Instead of buying land for $9,000-$10,000 for residential development, all of a sudden it's $25,000. Shortly after that, then he also got the express authority to even take a purchase to the board. So if he didn't like your offer or whatever, he didn't even have to take it to the board. They didn't have to hear any offer, where before they heard every offer. And since all that's happened, Barling, being one of the beneficiaries, was given 5 acres out there for a new city hall. They never built it. They worked a 3-way trade to sell it to Dwayne Jones. Dwayne was going to sell some he had to Yeagers, so Yeagers would put a lumber yard there in Barling. And the third trade, I'm trying to remember what it was. But anyways, so in that, the FCRA had a deed restriction on Barling's property. They made Barling give the property back to them instead of doing the trade. Then they sold it to Dwayne Jones for $100,000 an acre. Instead of just letting Barling sell it, land had already been given to them. They basically not done the same thing, but made Sebastian County pay probably $600,000-$700,000 for some land. All this land was already owned by the beneficiaries. The trust was just formed to be the one that dispersed of it, because you couldn't have 4 separate entities dispersing of it. So the property belonged to y'all, belonged to Fort Smith, Barling, and Sebastian County. But here they're having to buy it. They also charged RDOT. The biggest economic development that's happening over there charged RDOT $50,000 an acre for, I think, about 7 or 8 acres that they needed to finish the bridge project. So not just that, and I'm just trying to point out some stuff here that's kind of gone wrong with it. You get extensions when you hadn't developed your property in a certain length of time. Everybody almost pays $100 for an extension that's either 6 months or a year. This one gentleman, twice, they charged him $100,000. He paid it because he already had sunk about 500,000 into this property and into design work and into some construction on it. So he was kind of stuck. But they did it twice in a row for a 6-month extension. It was Alex Fuentes, which was going to put a Mexican restaurant out there, but of course he's building one, but I think he's going to be gone as soon as he gets done with it. So, and then most recently, they're wanting to pass a resolution for extensions. The first extension, you pay 1% of whatever your property value or property sales was. In a year, for another extension, you pay 2%. That extension is good for 6 months. In 6 months, for another extension, you pay 4%. 6 more months for another, you pay 8%. 6 more months, you pay 16%. So the idea, the way I feel, is that the executive director is prolonging his job because he's getting 2% commission. And also, I feel like that he wants to prolong it just so he can keep taking land back and get the commission and get into lawsuits. Because if they're in lawsuits, they're going to go away. It's going to be there perpetually. They have about 400 acres left that's developable. Now they've got like 1,200 altogether. But as everybody knows, when you're developing, you're going to get the best property first. And what's not all that desirable gets left to the back end. So a lot of that's floodplain. Justin's actually the one that came up with the acreage based on the FCRA's map themselves. So right now, 400 acres left. The FCRA has 1.9 million this year, and that's not capital expenditures. Just regular operating expenses. So our feeling and the other beneficiaries is that it's time for the FCRA to dissolve, property get sold, money get divided, and then it gets developed as the economy will let it. So anybody got any questions for me? Or?
Probably tons if I was guessing. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you. And the Blakes, thank you for coming. I got your email today. Sorry I didn't respond, but I appreciate you coming. So the first time that we have had a discussion in public about this is tonight. So I don't think we've really talked about it hardly at all in council, if all. I've been kind of laying low a little bit with the Judge Holtz. I spoke to him today. Indeed, they do have the resolution from Barling in their packet or on the desk. We provided that today for them. So we were just going to do just that. Say, here it is, gentlemen, for your education, and then hopefully make it or have talk about it next month and maybe make a vote. And as you said, talk to the judge, and he said that he gave Quorum Court the same resolution from Barling for them to kind of mull over. And then Fort Smith has informed me that, again, like you said, I think they have a meeting tomorrow night, I think. Yep. So they're probably going to vote on it. I'm hearing the same thing from everywhere I go. Barling has passed it, as you mentioned, more vocal than anybody on this to me, or what been in, I suppose. So I knew just enough to get myself in trouble. So I didn't I didn't say a whole lot to anybody yet, but it's something that we should definitely need to address. And I think these gentlemen, I don't want to speak for them. They can speak for themselves, but I agree with you that it's probably time. I think the resolution, I took a pretty good look at it. I didn't read every word today that Barling provided. I don't think they are saying, hey, it's got to be done by, I'll say the 2nd of November, but they're suggesting it get done ASAP. Because I think the original deal back in the day was this, it needs to happen. And so, but I understand what you're talking about because I've heard the very same things you're saying.
Yeah, it's been 27 years
That's
since
it,
they were formed.
And it wasn't really
97.
I don't think it was really supposed to last that long to begin with.
10 years, maybe.
Yeah.
But,
So,
but now when you ask the executive director how long, he says, oh, probably 10 more years.
I think that's, from Mr. Mann. Yeah.
Well, the only thing I was approached by a gentleman that's in the Barling city government of some capacity, and he was kind of trying to tell me that we can pass all these we want, but if the board itself doesn't vote to dissolve itself, it's kind of a moot point. I mean,
So there's multiple ways that it gets dissolved. One of them is that each beneficiary passes a resolution or votes that they dissolve. And the board, the trustees also vote that it is dissolved. But there's like 4 other ways that it can happen. So, but the trustees, just imagine if this board was put here just to serve, say, 3 other entities out here, or 4 other entities out here, and all 4 of those people said, we don't want you no more. I myself would say, okay, so long. I'll see you, but.
It should mean something with all
It should
4.
mean
Yeah,
something.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Is it going to be
But I heard the same thing, that what Councilman Terry said, that that's a humongous document, by the way. I like that term. That is a huge document to try to read through all that and figure out how this thing was set up to begin with.
Is it going to be an agenda item that we're going?
Yes, I've added it as number 15, and we just haven't discussed it yet. But yes,
Okay.
I definitely want it to be added with your blessing. Yep.
One more question?
Well, we might have some when we start discussing it, if you could stick around.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. And it's a big deal, so it needs to be looked at. Yep. Next on the list of the citizen forum is Sarah Collins. Again, if you would state your name and address, and you now have 2 minutes. I'm just kidding. No, it's fine. I'm joking.
Hello, my name is Sarah Collins. I live at 355 Old Hackett Road here in Greenwood. I noticed that we are missing a council member tonight because of a resignation last week. I'm currently in that ward, which is Ward 1. I would like to serve on that position. I'm standing here today to tell you that I feel invested in this community. I've grown up here. I've had family here. I have kids here. The past, present, and future does matter. I believe we do need some changes, but those changes need to be going forward and not stepping backwards. And I believe that if I was on this council, I would be able to provide my knowledge, my experiences, as well as understanding, empathy, and kindness. I am a small business owner. I'm a homeowner, and I'm a mother, as well as a veteran. I believe in this town, and I know that we do need changes. I see them, as well as many others. And I would appreciate if you took the time to consider me to serve on this board with you as a peer, as a friend, and as a mentor. My knowledge is probably less than what y'all have in this town because you've been here. That needs to be appreciated on many levels, as well as new ideas and new voices. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to let me stand up here and present the reason why I would like to serve as the Ward 1, Position 1 council member. I believe we can make a difference together. I believe the local community needs to make a difference. This is my first council meeting. However, I've been in the backgrounds. I've been reading the ordinances. I've been reaching out to members. I've been watching forums. I've been seeing social media posts. That's the hardest. But we need to make a bridge between the young and the past to go forward to the future. And I believe I can help with that. And I thank you for your time.
Any questions or comments from? Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Y'all
Ms.
have a
Collins.
wonderful night.
Appreciate you. Next on the list is Mr. Cameron Keller. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
I
okay.
thought I got it all out, but I didn't.
That's okay.
Cameron Keller.
Is it okay if I start with good evening, or do I have to start with my name first?
You just do whatever you think is.
Good
There
evening,
you go.
Councilman,
There you go.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Attorney, and Madam Clerk. Of course, fellow Greenwoodians and other distinguished city employees. My name is Cameron Keller. I reside at 31 Grand Magnolia Avenue, Greenwood, Arkansas, 72936. The other night, I was informed of the resignation of Councilman Daniel McDaniel, one of the aldermen from my ward. And I'm sure I echo the sentiments of most folks in Greenwood in extending a heartfelt thank you for his years of service and dedication. Now, of course, the council goes forward in the business of choosing his successor, someone who will bring a renewed perspective and a dedication which McDaniel shared. With that, I'd like to formally express my interest in succeeding the alderman. Now, I'm 22 years old. I am a graduate of Greenwood High School, class of 2020. And I was raised in Greenwood from the age of 3, but my roots in this town go back a lot further. My mother and her siblings graduated from here, as did my great-grandfather in 1944 while he was overseas. But to go back even further, my great-great-great-great-grandfather, Isaac Kunkel, built just down the road from here, the Sebastian County Jail, which we now know as the Old Jail Museum. As far as my resume, for the last 3 years, I worked at First National Bank, currently as the Lavaca Branch Operations Supervisor. Although before that, I've worked at many other branches, including the Greenwood branch. But prior to working for First National, I briefly worked with the Sebastian County Election Commission and the U.S. Census Bureau. Beyond this, I've served nearly a year on the Sebastian County Republican Committee and currently serve as the Communications and Membership Director for the River Valley Young Republicans. I've had a desire to serve in public office since I was very young, well, much younger than I am now. And I've always looked up to public servants, as you well know, Mr. Mayor, and aspired to do what they do. That's part of the reason I've been in regular attendance at these meetings. But the other reason is that I have a deep and innate desire to see what's best for the community is done. Greenwood is important to me, not just because I was raised here, not just because I live here, but because I love this town and I love the people in it. I know my appointment would be a long shot. I know my age gives pause to some, and it certainly gave pause to me when I decided whether or not to even throw my hat in the ring. But as my grandfather used to say, you can't let fear keep you from doing something, or you'll never be able to do anything. This town, this council can be well served by seeing fresh ideas and a new perspective. Thank you, Councilman, for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Appreciate you both for that. Did you want to be on the agenda and didn't get signed up, Ms. Van Gorder, or not? I didn't know if you're good? Okay, okay. I just wanted to check. Okay, thank you. Are the names on the citizen forum list tonight, so I appreciate everybody speaking. We will get through the agenda as quickly as we possibly can. If you notice, there's going to be 15 when I add one, so I know there's a storm coming, so we'll try to save time and do the best we can. So next on the, sir? Yes, sir.
In case something blows up, what's your where do we go policy is?
You know, we talked about this a few times. This is really the center of this building, more or less, except for the door. So those two bathrooms are probably prime. Right? The room, the server room, yeah. So I would say three areas: ladies' room, which is right through that door to your right; gentleman's room, right at that door to your left; and the server room that Tom is mentioning is through that door and then another left. So those kind of put you in the center with a lot of walls surrounding you. When I said that about this, I forgot this is an exterior wall. So that's with that. Everybody good? Hopefully we won't have to worry about it, but you never know. So, okay. Next up is our financial report from Mr. Tom Marsh.
Okay, first thing I want to remind you that this week on the 8th is the study session. It's one that, see what I did?
Eclipse, yeah, like that. Bump.
It's the day
Well, I'm
before. I want to start by the city sales. I gave you all a city sales and use tax report, which highlights the statistics from this month, as well as the cumulative for the year. The city sales and use tax revenues experienced an increase in March of 7.05%. So it was a rather significant jump up for the month. However, because we had a negative 0.68% at cumulative January and February, it only brought us to a cumulative growth of 1.76% for the year so far for the first 3 months. So we're still 2.74% below budget, but city sales and use tax is still a growth. County sales tax, our budget of 4.5%, they actually came in 3.21% down. That dragged the 0.78% that we had below by 4.42% is the actual for the year cumulative, or 4.92% below budget. So that's actually more than what our budgeted amount was. That's a pretty steep climb, and I'll give you some of the statistics in a second. Advertising and promotion tax revenues, they were right about where we would normally think. They climbed back up a little bit. They're at a 0.64% down, but all of the significant tax revenues, advertising and promotion, basically funding one of the operational departments, parks. County sales tax affects most of the operating departments under the general fund. So that includes the fire and the police department's operations. If we go into looking at the statistical scheme of things from the 2017 period all the way to now, you'll see that the amount for the city sales and use tax in February was a cumulative 0.68, and then you'll see it now climbed back to a 1.76% increase. If you go back comparatively, you're looking at 2019, which is the latest where we had that kind of a start. And by that 1.45% cumulative through March, that yielded about a 2.7% growth for the year. Now, that can change, but if we were to say, history has a way of repeating itself, that statistic of 1.76% might hold. If it does, we're basically back to where we were pre-COVID. That'll be right around 3%, I would think. So if you're looking at about a 3%, you're about 1.5% down from where our budget is. It could be a little under that, but I would think that realistically, conservative speaking, 3% is about what I'm looking for. I'd be happy with. As far as the county is concerned, well, let's look at the city. It's Greenwood sales tax revenue. This is in your report. March was collection for 7.05% better than expected, improving cumulative results for the 3 months, 24 to 1.76, as I said. But for the city to meet the budgeted growth of the 4.5%, we would have to have tax collections averaging 306,672 per month for the remainder of the year. And that means an average collection of 5.59% over the next 9 months. That number has dropped from the previous report that you got last month. So that's due to the rather significant increase of 7.05% for the sales growth in March. As far as county is concerned, a little different story. We had last month a 0.78% positive growth, but this month is a 3.21% decline. We're at 0.42%, as you see there. And if you go back to what it would be potentially a comparative, you're looking at 2018, and we only ended up at about 1.8%. So I would think that what we would be looking for is maybe around 2, maybe a 2.25%. But if it's 2, you're looking at about a 2.5% decline in the county sales tax from what was budgeted and projected. All of this will be discussed next Monday night when we look at some of the options, and I will give you some of the impacts in this presentation that I just to mull over for next Monday's meeting. As far as looking at that same statistic, you would have to have a cumulative growth of county sales averaging 232,513 per month for the remainder of the year. That's actually a collection average of 6.32 over the next 9 months. And just looking back at the averages we have, 0.76 up 7.8, down 4.2. We're not even close to even being remotely positive. So I would venture to say I'd be less bullish on the county sales tax side, being at 4.5%. But it's possible, but with the influx coming up, we don't know what's going to be generated in the Eclipse revenue stream as it comes in. That would be June before we would actually see that result. So keep that in mind. We will talk more about this. I do mention down here the portion of that budget that's appropriated to police, fire, animal control, planning, and parks operations. They would all be impacted significantly by any reduction that we may have or you may suggest as far as revising our budgets and cutting some back on some expenses. As far as cash flow, we are down for the month, 262,000. The year-to-date net decrease is 384,000. Our cash funds were 15,000,006. That's a negative of or a decrease of 2.39% in our cash funds all in for the city. We're budgeted 4,000,008, but high probability that a lot of those projects will be pushed off into next month. They are committed funds though. They're just mostly capital equated and pushed off. I do want you to know that I have had conversations now with 2 bond companies. I received the presentation from Stevens, one of the 2 that gave me some options to look at, and they'll be presented to you after these are explored first with the Water Wastewater Commission, because that's what this is involving. So anything that's done in order to come up with the funding for anticipated funding that's already included in your rate increase. Wanted to make sure I mentioned that. The rate increase included the amount of debt service to fund some of the capital projects going forward. So it's already starting to be generated, the revenue for that debt. So we're gonna go ahead and fund the betterments and improvements in the water wastewater. As far as our capital expense is concerned, ending March 31st, so far we have 784,000, just 750,000 of the 13.6 million that's budgeted. Come Monday, you will get a breakout of every single department's capital items, where they are, how much they've spent on it, what percentage of completion it is for the entire city, both improvement and expense. But right now, it's a cumulative 5.744% spent. I do want to show you the revenue percentage by category. You'll notice on the far over here, budget columns. The reason that we look at city sales and use tax and county sales tax, and this, by the way, includes the A&P tax. I exclude it because it's not something that funds other than parks operations. It is 43, roughly, right now, 43% of our total revenue stream, and it's budgeted to be a little over 40%. That's a significant amount, as you see where our other revenues come from. So that's why it's something we need to be looking at. As far as our options that you have, right now we have budgeted revenue of 14.7 million. The city sales and use tax is budgeted at 4.5%, which is a 3.6 million or 3.7, 2.7 or 2.8 roughly million in county. So you look at, if we were to reduce our all-in 6.4 million in our sales tax revenues by 1.5%, that's a $96,000 impact to operations. That means we have to cut funds some other way and take out of the budget 96 grand. 2% down is 128, 2.5 is 160, and then if we just say we're going to go no growth, we're going to budget flat. So what we received last year, we get this year, then that's going to sacrifice about $250,000, a little more than $250,000. And there you have it in a nutshell. Any questions?
Boy, that was a good report.
Well, I'll try and make it quick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marsh. Appreciate that. So we'll move on. Thank you again. We are at agenda additions, but what I would like to do is ask council's permission to kind of add something that's not, I'm gonna call it 1A, and we can go ahead and just kind of clarify and get the business of the council vacancy out of the way, if that's okay with you, gentlemen. So what I would need, and I spoke to our city attorney today, of course, and then also with Arkansas Municipal League to make sure we're doing the right thing and the correct thing to fill this vacancy. So the statute says immediately following resignation or after, well, that's what it says, that you at the next regular meeting is you vote to put someone in there. But what we haven't done yet is accept his resignation. So if, with your permission, I would like to do that tonight. And then that would give us 30 days till the next meeting to allow anybody else, like these two folks that have come tonight, to express their desire to fill that vacancy. That would give some time instead of trying to cram it all into one night. I think it's just a better idea to give a little bit of time.
Now, upon accepting it, if we're close enough to an election, can we defer it to the next this upcoming election?
So election only takes place if you're 20,000 or more as a first-class city. 10,000 or less, first-class city, the council appoints. 10,000 or less, I'm sorry.
Okay.
20,000 or less.
20,000, I'm sorry. I said
20,000 or
10,
less.
20. Yeah.
Okay. And upon acceptance of the resignation,
Right,
we can declare a vacancy,
correct.
and then you have to do it within 30 days.
You have to do it at your next scheduled, regular scheduled meeting. So,
Okay.
yes.
Well, I haven't really had a chance to speak with Daniel. I didn't know, try to really see what was his mindset about resigning, and if there was any kind of leeway or whatever, if there were reconsideration or, if he just needs to step back for a month or two.
I have done that, and I think Councilman Meeker has done the same. First of all, when I got the email, by the way, Councilman McDaniel resigned effective immediately per his email to the council and myself. I was caught off guard, to say the least, as many of you were probably. And so I'd reached out to him by text. I didn't call him. I thought this may be not something he necessarily wants to talk about. So I texted him and thanked him for his service. And is there any way he would reconsider? And he informed me that he had made his mind up and he thought it was the right thing to do. I won't go into details of why he decided to do it. That's strictly his business, in my opinion. But he made it very clear to me that he's resigned, and he's.
There's
Mr.
no
Baker,
room
is that-
for reconsideration.
Sir?
No room for reconsideration or anything.
I spoke to him twice today, and I called him even right before the meeting.
Mhm.
And of course, this morning I spoke to him because he's my warehouse neighbor.
Sure.
And he seemed to have softened a bit. And I said, so what's going on? Because I hadn't, you talk to somebody when they're kind of
Sure.
amped up a little bit. And he said, what's going on in life? And he said, man, I just have a lot of things. I said, I know, and I'm not going to state them. It's family things on both sides. And then he's kind of adopted a person that he was fixing to take to Little Rock to see if a surgeon would kind of help him out. And this is a HEPA violation. So, and I said, what, you're doing something kind of knee jerk. I think you're a valuable member of the council. Don't always agree with you, for sure. We don't all agree with each other. And I said, why don't you allow us, why don't you think about it for 30 days? Step back, take a breath, see if you really want to do it in a month. And he said, well, he kind of griped and just, he's Daniel. He gripes about everything. And he said, I got to go. I got to get so-and-so to Little Rock. And so I called him on the way back and I said, how's it going? And he said, well, we had to stop in Russellville. He had to go take a smoke break so I can kind of talk now. And I said, how'd it go? And he said, bad. It's just really bad. And I said, well, Daniel, I'm sorry. You got a lot going on and you kind of taking on a lot of things. And I said, look, I'm still back to our morning conversation. I think you need to step back, take a breath, wait on this 30 days. We can declare a vacancy then. So, Mayor, you can ask for a vote, but I'm going to vote no for this month. And I'm going to continue to talk to him. And if his mind is dead set, but he does have a lot of things going on. And when you have a lot of things going on, something's got to give. True. And that may be something long-term, but I would give every member of this council as a friend of mine, including you, Mayor, including Travis. And if something was going on in their lives, I would give you that courtesy, each one of you the same courtesy. We did it for Trey Burgess. I made about the same speech for Trey Burgess. and you know how that went. And we kind of kicked that ball down the road just a little bit, hoping that he would make a recovery and pop back up. But, it didn't work out. But I told Daniel, I said, I think you need to take a breath, step back 30 days, and we'll talk to you again. So my vote will be no on accepting his resignation or declaring a vacancy this month.
I agree with you because he does have a lot on his plate, and I agree that give him time. So my vote would be no.
Daniel's inserted into his life some things that I would have never dreamed of. And it's not that he wasn't already busy enough. And I do believe he needs this courtesy.
Yes.
Agree. I would like to do that. I'd like to have a chance to maybe, talk with him just to see kind of where he's at, what's kind of going on.
Okay. We're okay doing that without any,
Might want to have a vote to accept
To make-
his resignation. If it passes, then you might declare the vacancy. If not, then.
okay. So I appreciate everybody's comments. So we'll go ahead and vote. That way we're on record of accepting or not accepting that resignation, and we'll follow up as you're suggesting, I think, from what I'm getting from the rest of the council. So I would call for a vote to accept his resignation.
Mr. Brown,
No.
Mr. Meeker,
Nope.
Mr. Terry,
No.
Mr. Rainwater,
No.
Mr. Powell,
No.
it's unanimously no.
Very good. So if Dan, that easy, so, yeah, but, I would encourage you gentlemen, as I did, and I was quick to say what I said because I was told that. I wasn't trying to get rid of Mr. McDaniel by any means, and I think he's done a fine job serving the city of Greenwood, but please visit with him and see what comes of that in the next 30 days. Sound good?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Actually, number 1 on old unfinished business. Oh, I'm sorry, agenda additions. I do need to add number 15. And if the
Move them
council
up.
want to move that up
Yes.
so these folks don't have to
Yes.
stay all night long, because it's
Yes.
going to be a long one probably, we'll move that to, I guess we have to put on new business though, or not. It's up to you guys. You want to put it at the very top?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so we'll move resolution supporting this dissolution of Chaffee Redevelopment Authority to the first item on
Okay.
old unfinished business. So if you would, yes, sir, yes. So
It's now or 10 o'clock.
that's right.
Whatever you want.
Or 11.
At the earliest,
At the earliest, maybe 11.
Yeah. So Mr. Beam, if you want to not take the stand, but if you want to, no, I'm just kidding. So if you want to come to the mic, just in case, or Mr. Blake, however you folks want to do it, in case these gentlemen have some questions and or thoughts on this. Again, my purpose tonight was just to get this Barling resolution, because it's Barling has their name all through it. I think this is the same one that Judge Holtz, or he'll tweak it a little bit and obviously put the county in there. And Fort Smith is presenting to their either quorum court or directors this week. So that doesn't mean we have to vote on it tonight. I don't know what that would mean to the big picture if we waited 30 days to vote or not, but because I'm not sure the county's going to judge. I'm sorry, the county will vote.
Yeah, I don't know if they are. I know it's on their agenda to talk about
Correct.
whether it's there for a vote or not.
Yep.
But of course, y'all's attorney has to make it fit
Yeah,
Greenwood.
exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the same exact
Right.
resolution that everybody's passing.
Right.
Because Fort Smith is throwing in, you can't sell the golf course,
Right.
in the meantime. And so,
Specific to them.
yes.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Okay.
but the idea is just to get all beneficiaries saying, yeah, it's time to go.
Right.
Because they hadn't even come up with a plan.
Right.
There's,
Yep.
so.
Mr. Ream, you said that they've been established since 1997. What is the typical timeframe for an organization such as
So
this?
I'm not sure, but I know there are several of the BRAC base closures back then that have been gone for years. And I don't know how many still left. I'm not sure if this is the only one, Because all that happened, you know, back in the 90s. They decide, all right, we're cutting back on some of these bases that we don't need, you know. Thank goodness here, the state took it over, and they didn't want that 7,000 acres. So that was the need to form the FCRA and to start getting rid of it. So I don't know the answer to your question, but I can imagine it's not close to 27 years for, so.
Well, this resolution we have in front of us was the one from Barling that they constructed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. I mean, obviously we couldn't pass this. It doesn't say anything about Greenwood at all in here. I just wanted to know, we don't have a land grab really much in this deal as much as everybody else.
Correct.
But we would certainly love to have our portion of $8 million.
Yes.
Yeah, I've gone to probably more meetings than I care to say, but quite a few meetings on this subject over the last year and a half. And it's never been, and I didn't ask for it, but it's more just talked about and then being very specific. But you're right, it's not about land for Greenwood. It's about the funds that are left over after it closes.
Steve, how many people are on their board? Do you know?
7, I think, 7 members.
So it would have to be a unanimous decision by their board to dissolve.
Well, so like I say, there's other ways for it to happen. The governor can actually step in, and the governor can appoint another state agency to take it over. Or the governor can actually appoint someone that's not in the middle of it right now to take it over and close it down. As a matter of fact, there's been people talking to Sandy Sanders about doing that very same thing. Sandy was actually the one that signed for the property, you know, way back whenever it was given to him. And so he's said that he would be interested in being the one to take 12 months and shut it down, get rid of everything and close it up, you know? So, and I don't know if y'all got the indenture of trust, but the indenture of trust is what lays out the ways that you can shut it down. And one of them is strictly if there's some incident happens that keeps the trust from basically doing their job. So there's several things that could happen there. Maybe they don't have a quorum, because right now, the only people that the trust is bringing to the Sebastian County to confirm, because the way they get appointed is the trust votes on someone that they want to put on the board. They take it to Sebastian County. The county has to confirm it. If the county doesn't confirm it, they don't get on the board. So, I mean, it could be that just by people getting off the board, all of a sudden they don't have enough people on there, you know, because the people that Daniel's bringing, and I'm not saying anything bad about anybody, but there's some conflict of interest at times up there. One, several of them are property owners that are voting against the property owners or potential property owners or even existing property owners. So anyway, I don't know that it's really set up to draw people in that are neutral in there. At least it doesn't appear that way. When Ivy Owen was the executive director, he actually asked me if I wanted to be on the board. And as before I ever bought him property out there, and I told him, I said, Ivy, I said, I'm fixing to come make an offer on some property. He said, oh, well, you can't be on the board then. You know, I said, okay, you know, no problem. I'm glad not to be. I'd rather be developing. So anyway, that's not the case now. Now it's a whole different animal.
Now, you were saying that there's like 400 acres approximately remaining?
Yeah, there's probably 1,200 total acres, but we took a map and Justin did most of it. Justin Green, if y'all know him sitting there. He's a partner on some of the properties that Rod and I have and different things. Him and I and others looked at the map and we laid out where the floodplains are in there. We subtracted all that out of each one of the parcels that they have. So they'll have a parcel, maybe 1A, to be, whatever you're doing, and have certain acreage attached to it that's in that parcel. So we just took that and took the stuff out of it that you couldn't develop or couldn't reasonably develop. In the floodplain, you can, but you got to fill it in first, and you got to get all the permits to fill it in first. So that's the kind of stuff that we took out of it. We came up with, like, I think it's 460 acres, if I remember at the time. 489. And then there's some that's been sold since then. So it's down to about 400 acres that's actually a developable in a reasonable amount of time. Their budget, I was telling you a while ago, 1.9 million is strictly their day-to-day expenses. It has nothing to do with capital expenditures or anything like that. So that money's going out whether they bring in a dime or not. 400 acres to sell, $1.9 million a year budget to do that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
And I guess I heard you say something about the golf course. Is that part of that, whatever, or 489 acres? Is the golf
So I
course
don't
out there?
recall if the golf course was actually part of that 489 or not. And I don't, minus the golf course, because it was considered recreational type area.
This
Yeah.
resolution's, but I guess Barling says on the 1, 2, 3, 5th, whereas it says there appears to be only approximately 250 acres of developable land remaining, which includes some lands that have been set aside or will be set aside for public use, such as the golf course consisting of 120 acres.
Yeah, so those numbers aren't right. I think that was before anybody did a decent study to see what was actually developable.
Yes, sir. Would you mind coming to the mic? I'm sorry. Thank you.
Barling may have put that in there because if you look at the footprint of Barling and Fort Smith, which is the two municipalities in question with land in their area, it's about a 50-50 split. So if you take that 500 and divide it in half, you're going to, that's probably where we came up with
Their
the
portion.
250.
Yeah.
That's right.
What's your name, sir? For the record.
Justin Green, 2300 Butler Street, Central City, Arkansas.
Thank you.
Steve or Mr. Beam, how did we become a stakeholder in this Greenwood, city of Greenwood? Is it
Okay,
because of our
so-
school district?
Well, whenever it was first formed, and I meant to start out with this a while ago. So I was a Barling director at the time all this was happening back in the 90s. So Greenwood, Sebastian County, Fort Smith, and Barling were the beneficiaries. The FCRA, when they were formed and had to hire someone, they didn't have any money. And they actually didn't even have the land yet. So they were starting out with a budget with nothing. So the beneficiaries all chipped in $50,000 each a year to let them have some money so they could hire an executive director and start trying to get the process rolling. So until they were deeded over the land to where they could start leasing stuff out and generating some income, they were strictly dependent on the beneficiaries. At some point in there, Greenwood said, hey, we don't have a dog in this fight. We're not giving you $50,000. So y'all stop paying. And I don't remember how long the other three beneficiaries paid, but to be honest with you, a lot of people thought that Greenwood had taken themselves out of being a beneficiary, but they didn't. The only way they could is to change the indenture of trust, and the indenture of trust never got changed. So Greenwood is a 25% recipient of whatever's left over out there because the indenture never was
Even
changed.
though we kind of become deadbeats at a point.
Right.
Quit
You
paying.
know, everybody was in that same position. Barling come that close to it, but
Yeah.
you know, if you remember, all that was in the city limits of Barling to begin with. None of it was in Fort Smith, and there's a big lawsuit over that, and some of that 5 acres that I told you a while ago that the FCRA made Barling give back. That property was part of the resolve of the lawsuit to change the city limit boundaries. So then Barling gets this, you know, as part of their incentive to
Yeah.
change the city limits. And now the trust gets it back because the executive director wants to make his 2% on it. So anyway, and that's where everything's changed at that point. Before that, it was a whole different animal out there. But that's just incentive for someone to do just what's best for him, not what's best for
There's
all the beneficiaries.
there's not a mechanism for checks and balances on their decisions.
Well, so they get audited, you know, I mean, there's audits. Now, this 2%, I call it a commission. They call it a incentive pay, but it's a plain 2% on everything. It's not incentive. Hey, if you really make a good deal over here, we'll give you a little bonus. It's just across the board. So to me, that's not an incentive pay. That's just a commission. Yes, he fired the realtor. So that's part of how he talked him into giving him a commission. Said, I'm going to save you commissions. We're not going to pay a realtor anymore. So what happens there? The guy that's coming to him to buy property, he's not disclosing everything to him. When you got a realtor, the realtor's got to disclose everything. But Daniel don't. And he flat out doesn't disclose intentionally, just try to get more money out of the property. And then hoping that the buyer does their due diligence, you know, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But anyway, so it's not pretty up there, and the meetings get a little bit heated at times, but
How much acres did it start out with? Was it
7,000.
7,000 acres? So
Yeah.
they've really done a pretty good job. I mean, if they're just down to, you say 439 or 469.
Yeah.
You know, so they really have, I mean, gotten rid of, the lion's share of it.
Yeah. And they've gotten rid of some floodplain. I bought 44 acres of floodplain just for the fact to fill it in, because I'm always needing a place to dump. So bought it cheap. I think I gave $1,000 an acre for it, you know, and I'm in the middle of trying to get it out of the floodplain, you know, but, and they've sold other stuff in the floodplain, but you got to sell that cheap. You can't, you know, you can't get much out of it. Too expensive to get ready.
Okay, so Mr. City Attorney, what do we need to vote on this thing? Do we need any kind of resolution with our name on it, or can it just a verbal vote saying we hate these guys? Or what?
Well, I don't think we're going to vote on this because it's not specific to Greenwood. I'd like the opportunity to visit with the mayor further about it. I think he's got some input on that. But I think the crux of it is that trust has nearly served its purpose. And
That's it.
And if we're going to take any benefit as beneficiary,
Better get it now.
we better do it now.
Yeah, they got $8 million plus, and they're headed towards lawsuits.
And what did you say the payroll was?
The payroll is like 600,000 a year, but 1.9 is the total budgeted amount for this year for payroll and normal operating expenses, not any capital improvements.
Just for the 489 acres that remain.
How long is it going to take to spend that?
Sir, for 4 employees. I thought it was, I knew it had changed over the last year or so.
Yeah. The executive director gets right at 200,000, either a little under or over a year in his regular salary. Then he gets 2%.
Than the commissioner.
Yeah. So $1 million is $20,000
Making pretty good money.
And I'd also,
for having 3 employees work under you and have 400 acres that you've got to sell. I'd go sell that real quick, to be honest with you. But
I think we all agree that it's outlived its time.
Yep.
And we all agree that the bureaucracy has got to the point that they're going to drain it down to nothing.
Yep.
But I would like a little more information. It's a lot to digest. And I'd kind of like to talk to one of the Fort Smith board members. I'm going to call
Well,
one.
you have one that is here in town. Well,
Well, Barling's on their deal says November the 30th at 24. Wait no longer than that. That's what they're.
yeah, I think I think Fort Smith's putting maybe December 31st or something, but none of that's as you know, resolution's not
Right.
binding,
Right.
but it makes a big statement when all 4 beneficiaries say it's time for y'all to wind this down. Let's be done with it.
The
So
quicker the better.
quicker the better. That's exactly.
When
Well,
does-
before they get into lawsuits,
Right.
if they get into lawsuits, then it's going to be that much harder for anybody to get rid of them.
Yes.
And
When does
that's where he's headed with this thing.
Right now, those are all pending, right?
There's no lawsuits out there right now.
That's what I was.
when does the city of Lavaca meet?
Lavaca
Not-
doesn't
not
have.
I mean, oh, so it's Sebastian?
Barling, it's the county,
Okay,
Sebastian County, Barling, Fort Smith, and us.
Fort
okay,
Smith's meeting tomorrow.
okay.
My understanding, everybody's voting for it besides one person. Sebastian County's supposed to have it at the middle of this month sometime, whenever they meet. Now, I don't know, like you said, if they're just discussing.
I think it's just gonna, and I may be
They're
wrong,
voting.
all, quorum meetings are sometimes like ours or vice versa, and sometimes they're not. But the judge, I spoke to him today and he said that all he had done was provided this exact same borrowing resolution to them in their last meeting, whenever that was, and he was waiting for feedback. So whether they're prepared to vote, I don't know, but
Yeah.
if I think Fort Smith is. Like
They
you
are.
said, and I heard the
Yeah.
exact same thing, that
Yeah,
there was
they're-
one,
yeah.
one possible no.
It'll
vote.
be passed tomorrow, so.
What we don't want to happen is all 4 beneficiaries sign off.
Mhm.
The executive director has to fire.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah.
That's the next step.
Yeah.
And legislative, Little Rock legislative is watching these courthouses.
Yeah, okay. And the point, and it's a good point, whoever made it a while ago, Mr. Bean, maybe that there's other ways to dissolve it, but, and just because all 4 beneficiaries say it's time doesn't necessarily mean they'll do it, but it was going to mean a lot. I have been in a meeting with all those beneficiaries, and we all kind of agreed that if we get together, it should mean quite a bit. So,
Meeting that y'all had last year,
mhm,
Daniel was supposed to be at that meeting.
right,
He never was there.
That's
Y'all
correct.
sent 10 questions.
that's correct.
When he answered those 10 questions about 2 weeks ago
Yes, sir.
or a month ago.
I actually tried
Just-
to provide that tonight and I couldn't find it. I had an email with that letter in
Yeah.
it and I could not. I'll get that to you, gentlemen. It's a letter from, signed by Daniel not McMahon, but Mann. And I can't remember, maybe the president of the board.
Dean Gibson.
Okay, I couldn't read it, to be honest with you, but I'll get that to you also.
Okay.
Yeah, so that just shows you the arrogance, that they don't feel like that they're here for the benefit of the beneficiaries. But that's the first paragraph in that indenture trust. That's what it says. Their sole purpose is for the benefit of the beneficiaries, period. Everything else is just how they can go about doing that, but it still has to come back to the benefit of the beneficiaries. But that's what they're getting away from at this point. So that's why they need to
He told us in our
be sent home.
place that he didn't have to answer to those people. And he called those people the 4 beneficiaries. He said, 10 questions, Steve asked him. He said, I don't have to answer.
Interesting.
So.
Thank you very much.
Legally, we can do that.
Thank God. Thank you, Mr. Bean. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
Travis,
thank you.
No, you still have to stay.
are they an organization that is FOIable?
I'm not sure, but as a beneficiary, I think we've got a right to know everything they do. And as beneficiaries, once a trust has served its purpose, it's considered to be at its end. So that's where if all beneficiaries agree, then it carries quite a bit of weight.
Yes.
So,
Fine.
Mayor,
But I've requested a copy of the actual trust.
Okay.
Because a week ago, I didn't know anything about this.
and I didn't either till Friday.
It's not.
Or things like this were set up for a particular purpose, probably for and making things develop and all that. I kind of like to hear the guys that are actually on it. I mean, or this guy, and why it needs to continue on the way it's going. But it certainly sounds like they've created a bureaucracy, and the bureaucracy's funding itself to the bitter end. And I wouldn't mind having us mind having the 0.25% before it gets chewed up by bureaucracy and lawyers. So, because you know lawyers take everything.
Wow.
It's the truth, isn't it?
I just happen to be the lawyer for this beneficiary. So I agree with you.
We can provide you too. What I'll do on this is provide you with that letter from the redevelopment folks and also a list of board members. I almost got on that board and I'm kind of glad I didn't now. I was asked if I wanted to
Well, it
serve.
might have been better if you had.
Well, I don't know. I think it could have been probably a conflict of interest.
Because it doesn't look like we have a seat at the table,
We
even
do,
though
actually.
we do.
Yes, sir. I'll share
Can-
that with you later, but
That's not FOIable.
no, I think it probably is. We do have a seat though.
We've got a seat because we're a beneficiary.
Well, yes, but
But
there are,
you would think that we'd be 1/4.
We are.
We are? Okay,
we are that,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
but you also have representation on the board. But I'll provide those names for you.
okay.
I'm not trying to be secretive. I'm just,
Sure.
no, I know. I know someone that's on the board that's his business and I'll, okay.
Okay. Okay.
It is a matter of public record, though.
I would assume so.
Okay.
John Cecil serves on the board. No harm, no foul, I suppose, but, and I very much admire Mr. Cecil and everything that,
I think we all do,
But
but
he- yeah,
it
but
might
he-
be nice if.
unless something has changed. Where's Danielle? Are we aware of any change of that? Okay.
Might be nice to ask him a question.
Yeah,
Does this need
and
to exist?
And it may be, and if you like, I can also attempt to get either Mr. Mann, well, not either,
Yeah,
but Mr.
I would.
Mann maybe to come down and visit. I will tell you that Barling will come down in a heartbeat, but we might not should do that on the same night.
Right.
So,
If you can get Mr. Mann here, I'd like to hear from him.
okay.
I'd like to have a resolution ready for next month and him be here so he can hear his vote to dissolute, which is all.
Okay. I'll leave that up to Mr. Plummer.
If you can, that'd be really
Try
good.
to
I'd like to
tweak
get,
that. We'll get together and
I've
talk
got-
about what's
I've got the Word document.
specific to us.
because they're going to try to go, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be,
Yeah, let me just say, it's probably been about 2 years ago, which I mentioned it one other time in a council meeting, just to say, hey, did you guys even know we were a beneficiary? I remember it very much, and everybody looked at me the same way I looked at the person that told me. I'm like, I didn't know that. I got a call and said, hey, are you aware that Greenwood is beneficiary of Chaffee redevelopment? And I said, I had no clue. So we just been kind of going along without knowledge of anything for a while. And
It's kind of interesting how we stopped supporting it.
I
and
know.
We're still written into the
Yeah, I know.
contract.
I know.
Because most of the time they.
Yeah.
Keep you on.
Were you here then?
No.
Okay.
He wouldn't tell you if he, no.
I know, I was going to blame him.
Okay. Anything further on that? I think this was a little eye-opening for sure.
Yes.
Sorry to look like I was trying to keep a secret. I was just
We have
trying to be nice.
nothing screwing you guys.
Okay. Number one on old unfinished, or two, I guess, suppose now. I'm just going to say one. Is that okay? Is a discussion on FEMA brick grant. We tabled this from the previous meeting. Gentlemen, and for the audience, this is the grant that we like. This is the grant that we applied for and have been approved for from FEMA to buy out of residents that want to be bought out over in the flooded area and try to remove some of those homes again, if they want to be. And so we still haven't moved forward yet. One, because it's not officially in the budget, and I understand the concern about getting into it, I suppose, although we did apply and we were approved for it. What I would like to do with council's blessing, or I guess, I mean, I don't necessarily, I'd like to give Hunter the ability, and I'll stay under my spending cap, the ability to get to start some appraisals, because he can't move. His hands are tied on this grant until he gets some appraisal to know what these homes are, what we can offer for them. So I'm gonna do that if everybody's okay with that. We'll see what they cost, and I'll keep under my cap. And if it comes close to the cap, or if it looks like we're in the middle of, I'll come back to you and say, with your approval, we might allow more. But until he can do that, he literally can't. This thing is stuck. And
Because
it's
you
a-
have no idea what they're officially worth.
Correct.
That's right.
This will give me an overall project cost. It'll allow y'all the opportunity to set a budget limit for me this year. 2 houses, but I don't know what 2 houses are going to cost. I don't know what 1 house cost
Right.
officially.
And we don't want to lose the grant. Is it the perfect solution to that area? No. There's a lot of little things that could go with it, or I say little, cleaning of the creeks. We all know those things, but this is a good start and maybe a good way to get somebody that wants out, a way to get out. So, and we got approved. Everybody agreed that we'd apply. We did, and very fortunate to tell us the number of that again, if you don't mind.
1.1 million was what we were
Okay.
awarded. I mean, the overall grant was for around 1.4.
And it's 75 to 25 or 70.
75-25.
So, and I think we did talk about this. Yeah, 1 second, sir. 20, so 300 and something thousand dollars.
135,000 is
Okay.
roughly our.
But we have to,
Yeah,
to
the
pay everything up front first,
Correct,
right?
correct.
We have to pay everything up
And,
front
and,
first.
and I understand a little bit of worrisome, or not a lot, a little, maybe more, is the reimbursement process. Tracy can only tell us what she's experienced so far. And it's been, I don't know that Fort Smith is even that far. They're doing this.
Few steps ahead of us.
Yeah. So they're in the same process. So we're anxious to see their process and see how it works on the reimbursement. Yes, sir, Mr. Van Gorder.
So I have a question.
If you would come to the mic. Yeah. So we get you on tape.
So how are we going to go about the appraisal process? Because if I remember correctly, the woman from FEMA that talked to the people about that said that they would be purchasing the homes at the pre-flood value. So how are we going to go about determining the pre-flood value?
That'll have to be a conversation I'd have to have with Ms. McKenna.
Do you remember that
Yes.
as okay? All right.
I couldn't tell you, but this is kind of Hunter's baby, if you will, a little bit. I mean, we're all in it, but that's a good question. I don't know.
Okay.
I think that's a discussion we have to have with the appraisal company to value your property outside of the floodplain element.
And at the time.
It'll be a current appraisal as of today's valuation, not when it flooded.
No, I think before the flood occurred, you want to say,
Yeah, I
what
think-
would
I
the
think
property
she was
value be?
specific To say it was the value of the pre-flood, the pre-flood value.
I'll go back and re-listen to that to double check.
And only to say that, take it out of the floodplain, it doesn't necessarily erase the history.
Yeah.
And if you don't erase the history, then we're still penalized for
Right.
being there.
Yeah, we'll get those details for sure.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anything else, gentlemen, on this? Hunter, you got anything?
I'm good.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No
Thank you.
tabling it, just gonna.
Yeah, we will table it again.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to table it again.
Make a-
Motion to table.
We have a motion, second to table.
I'd make that motion or
Mr. Rainwater, you want a second?
He already made it.
Oh,
and
all right,
so-
second.
Okay.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Maker,
Yes.
Mr. Terry.
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater.
Yes.
Mr. Powell.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. Number 2 is city clerk ordinance repealing, replacing ordinance number 20-09, updating bid requirements. It's the second reading.
I think last time there weren't as many council members here, and we wanted to put it on first reading so that more members could be here. I think that's how it went.
I would like on the second page, I would like to recommend omitting section 5. I just think it, be just up to the council to decide when we want to raise, the limits or not be. I know a lot of times that works for a lot of things, but I think in this case right here, it should just be a council decision.
Well, I think the reason it says that is because it's a reminder, a good reminder that you can every 5 years. I mean, that's in the statute. Seems like it's a fairly new inclusion.
It's not saying they have to be adjusted, AC.
Says it
It's
may.
just saying it may be adjusted.
But I guess I don't see, are you saying it's referencing some state statute?
Yeah, it's the statute. It's in it, in this statute, this whole bidding stuff. It's in there with it.
Yeah, it's not going to increase the limit. It's just saying it may be adjusted to reflect the CPI.
Sort of like how on the Act 605 made everyone look at whether or not it was feasible, still feasible, the rates charged. It's kind of like that for this.
Yes, sir. So this morning we had our typical or normal, well, they're never normal.
No, they're not normal at
Our
all.
department head meeting on the day of a council meeting, and we go through this packet. And so all departments that were present had a little something to say about it. And I said, you can shine tonight because I need you to come and give us the council's opinion on what this means to them trying to do projects. So take it away, Mr.
Well, it would be extremely
Dalton.
beneficial to increase that to what the new state statute refers to, and I believe it's $50,000, $35,000 threshold. You just can't do anything for that value anymore. And it's not that we're trying to get around bidding per se. It's just small projects come up and it's just a little bit of a pain sometimes when you're trying to do something that doesn't necessarily require engineering or something you can have done locally, constructing a small building or doing some type of work on an existing facility. And the cost just increased so much over the last few years that $35,000 is just not enough to do anything. So it really pushes us out on having to get things done because we have to wait 30 days. We have to do a bid ordinance, come to the council and present that on smaller projects. That just kind of holds us up.
And I think that statute included the 5 years because anymore with inflation, things really go up in 5 years, it seems.
So thank you. You can go on if you want. Continue.
Well,
Chief.
sure go on, but
Chief.
it costs the taxpayers extra because we're having to get all the bids and they're competing. Obviously, it's going to go up. So a project that we could get done under this state law, this threshold of the 50,000, we could go ahead with mayor's approval and your approval. We're not going to do anything. Obviously, we answer to the auditors and to y'all, so we're not going to do anything crazy. But we could go out there and get this done that's cost effective instead of just raising these rates with this bidding. I'll just use the awning, for example, something, and I've said this before, something that is relatively inexpensive is going to be extremely expensive to the point where most likely I would have to just come to y'all and say, hey, I think we could use that money otherwise, other places in the city because it's just not cost effective. I can't justify spending $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 for an awning. And that's basically what I'm trying to build, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because
we
you won't
would,
have to take bids. If you
yes,
can
we
raise
would
that
as
up.
department heads, of course, checks and balances, Mr. Tom, Mayor, y'all. We would like for that threshold to be the 50,000.
That is one, like you were referring to one project, and that could be waived just on its own
Yes.
without, I tell you that going above to the 35,000, when you get into water and sewer, their stuff's really expensive on a daily basis. And I wouldn't mind doing it for water and sewer, but some departments don't spend that in the whole department. To me, it makes sense for water and sewer, but it doesn't make sense for the other departments. Brad has a point, and I would say we'd waive competitive bidding on that based on its own, but I'd still like to have that brought to us.
So we talk about waiving competitive bidding, and we have some that won't do that, say no immediately, and then we have some that's okay with it. If you read this, the reason to waive competitive bidding is just because it's, and this is my terminology, not the statute. It's special. It's a special thing. In this, for instance, and I want him to build that Sally Port, whatever we're calling it. But if you waive competitive bidding, and our auditors look at that pretty quick, waiving competitive bidding, and waiving competitive bidding for something like that everybody in town can build is a little on the edge. I just think it's time, and this is my 2 cents because I agree with these department heads. I was one time too, to get things built and done these days is not only are you taking a chance of it going, if you're not taking a chance, it's going up. If you have to wait 30 days, it's going up. We have two budget amendments from street department tonight. Since it was budgeted, they went up. So he's having to come back and ask for more money. And I know it's a little different, but it's not just words. I mean, that's probably the first time PD's asked for something like this, but street department is a daily, regular basis thing. Parks department, I don't know if Casey's here, but that's a thing for him. And if you guys don't get up here and talk, I'm gonna.
And fire, I think he's raising his hand back there.
So fire department.
Yes, sir. The big thing, or part of the thing for us, is especially if we have conditions, we have to wait for a month and a half in some cases to have commission meeting and then have council meeting to get approved for the budget resolutions. So it kind of puts us in a bind to where if we're in the middle of a project, like we just had instance last week, we were basically a stop work order because we had a change order that we couldn't get approved.
Can't you have a special board meeting?
You can, but it's a pain in the rear.
Well, I've never seen where a special call meeting has been a pain in the rear. I don't know when we've had not been able to get a special call meeting.
We've had special call meetings when there wasn't a quorum.
Yeah.
That's a pain in the rear. I mean, and if you were trying to get a project done, that is a huge pain.
And all the different schedules everyone has, try to get everybody here.
Well, I would like to also add, and I hope this isn't a long-term thing we have to deal with moving forward, but there appears to be a contractor shortage right now on a lot of different things. So in increasing this for smaller projects, that gives us the ability to shop that out, whereas we would be at the mercy of whatever that bid is that comes back, which we're going to present 4 items here tonight for that specific reason.
Chief?
Our SCBA's and when this went into effect for $5-6 grand are now $11 grand each. So if I'm about 2 SCBA's, I gotta figure it out. Or come to you to get it bypassed or get that bypassed. It was, the price of everything went up and, there are small cap on it.
Well, and there again, I think that we as a council have been, I think, pretty lenient when you say to waive competitive bidding, because if you say you have anything that makes that, slightly unique, we'll say, well, hey, yeah, we'll prove it like that.
I apologize if you thought that I was saying that you haven't been fair to me. I didn't want you to think that. Y'all voted and you put it in the budget. I'm appreciative for that. But I budgeted 38,000 based on Mr. Tom gave me that 50,000 number. We didn't realize that it was 35. So I believe that's the way it occurred. So
I don't know that we've ever denied a waiver of competitive bidding, but at least it's on record in the minutes of the meeting and we know what it's about.
Understood.
But I can't think of all the years I've been on ever denying a waiver of competitive bidding. I think it's just the idea of being on record.
Well, like Mr. Hobbs said, I don't think that's any form of conversation here. Y'all been more than
It's the
forthcoming
delay.
with us. It's just a delay. in
It's
trying to
the
get the
delay.
project done.
And I just think that, Stuart's trying to buy SCBA's, you're trying to buy a carport. These are things that come up every once in a while. Yours, I think it's a monthly deal.
It seems to be reoccurring more frequently.
I would be more inclined to do this for water and sewer and not, y'all are different than the planning department. You're different than parks, and parks has something come up every now and then, but y'all have, everything costs a lot of money in y'all's world.
I think, Charlotte, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there a separate state statute specific to water and wastewater?
There is, especially about emergency repairs, but somebody else would need to opine on it because it's really legal easy.
Yeah.
I call it
You're not a citizen. So.
Can't wait.
I call it no hope. It's not.
Is it on?
I don't know.
Yes.
I think the state statute probably went up because of inflation. It's just keeping pace with inflation. It's whatever you think you're increasing, you're not. You're just trying to keep pace with the inflation. We're not getting any more. We're not getting 10 of something where we were getting 5. We're still getting 5. It's just the cost has gone up.
Well, I'd like to know for sure if there's a statute that involves separately for water and wastewater, because know for a fact there's been a couple of times we've had water line breaks on a weekend and it just got repaired. And y'all came back to us and said, hey, we need this money here.
If I recall correctly, I requested a way bid ordinance on a blower unit that we were going to install at the wastewater plant last year. And I brought that in for way bid ordinance. And I believe Mr. Plummer stated at that time, according to the state statute, that that was not required to be bid in the first place. Now, the council went ahead and did a way bid ordinance just to be on record. But I think we have a much larger threshold on specific items such as what you're referring to.
But just like you said, just to be on record, I think that's I kind of second what, Mr. Powell said, as far as sometimes it's just good to have these things on record so that we can, look back if anything ever comes up and say, oh yeah, that's what transpired, and that's, and we were aware of that expenditure. Sometimes you just don't want to, I feel like, that's one of my responsibilities to be responsible for the budget. I don't want to be kind of caught and saying, oh, man, I wasn't aware of that expenditure, and to me, a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, that's a pretty good, expenditure. So they think, man, I wasn't aware of that, and stuff, but they have the ability to, go ahead and buy that, if it's in their budget.
Not arguing with you, but just clarifying, you passed the budget with that being in there, so you knew what I was obligating that money to. And I wouldn't go against you to go over that. I would, like Mr. Terry once said, I believe this, without putting words in your mouth, we're kind of tired of y'all coming back to us and asking for more money after the fact. That's kind of like what we're doing. I was a little ignorant to the situation because I went out and got a bid. The bid was this. I presented it. Y'all passed it. Now that's not going to be the case. It's going to be a lot more than what I asked for because of this competitive bidding. Just the second one, and we're not going to like this awning or Sallyport still has to go through Hunter for approval because it's building onto a city building and commercial building. So it still has to be approved by Hunter. We're just asking that we have the leeway of waiving that as state statute is the $50,000. So it give department heads the ability to make a decision and get with the mayor and get it moving, get the project moving. But I yield back to y'all. I respect y'all and I'm appreciative for what y'all have given me. But if it goes too much over the 38,000, I wouldn't be able to do it because I can't justify that within my own heart to spend that kind of money on something that's no more than an awning.
So
if
just
that
to
makes sense.
clarify, Charlotte, we're voting to change this to 35,000 and 50,000 from what's the current?
20 and 35.
20 and 35.
We're asking for 35 to 50, right?
Which is not what we're asking.
Right. Yes, sir.
We are asking, but it comes from the state. And so perfectly put, it's due to inflation. And I would say to council, if you care, I mean, I know you care, this is no way, form, or fashion a tactic to allow these department heads to run amok and do what they want to do. This is to keep up with what's out there and the cost of doing business. And if it hadn't been pointed out, you run the risk of these contractors not even bidding. And so, it sounds like it's almost like we're trying to do something without you guys knowing, and that is far from the truth. That you're going to know about these projects anyway. Never under, not since I've been sitting here has there been a project started that I wasn't aware that you weren't aware. So that's not the goal whatsoever. We're just trying to loosen up a little bit per state suggestion so they can do business.
Well, unfortunately, I get all that, but inflation really doesn't control what the council does as far as the money goes. It's that numbers that Mr. Marsh just showed us that are called taxes.
No, I understand.
And when inflation goes up, that doesn't mean that your tax revenue goes up, unfortunately. So we're kind of handcuffed by what our budgets are. So if it's a budgeted item and it's already been in the budget, obviously the department heads are allowed to go fire away and buy it. Now, if there's a cap on the 50,000 or whatever it goes to, I mean, we certainly need to know about it, and still yet it's got to be within their budget where we can move money around from something else, obviously.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I sympathize with inflation, but that's certainly not in our control. And I guess tax revenues aren't either for that matter, but that's all we have to control us is how much money we're taking in via tax receipts. So, I mean, I'm just saying that to say that we can't always just say, well, the inflation is going up and everything's more expensive now, so we're going to pay more. Well, that's unfortunately we're limited on what we can pay. That's unfortunately the bad part of our job.
No, I don't disagree. You can only spend as much as you can afford to spend. I mean, yes, sir. Chief, you come up.
Councilman Terry, we're just asking to make it the state, same as the state.
Right.
This came up not too long ago. What's the state doing? Let's make it the same as the state. So that's kind of what we're doing. I've got a mobile repeater that's in the budget. It come in at about $26,000 for that mobile repeater. And I think we budgeted 30 because we didn't know if it's going to be that, or maybe 28. But he comes to me and says, well, this is a state bid. And I said, well, is it state bid we're going to be able to accept, or it's some kind of 4-letter word pricing? And he said, well, you can buy it. It's under the state statute. And I said, well, no, I'm probably going to have to go. We're only at 20 right now. And so I was asking Tom today about that. So we're asking to be the same as the state for things that have already budgeted. So we're not having, and I hate to say it, this is going to be something, since it's Motorola, it's got to be Motorola. So I'll still have to come to you, bother your time that night of having to pass something special for something you've already passed. So we're doing it twice. So, but we're just asking to be made the same as what the state is, because we're, as I said, I know inflation's making everything go up and it's nuts, but same thing for radios. You know, what I used to be able to buy 5 or 6 handheld radios, we can buy 4. And it's just because the prices went up on them. And we keep our budget the same. I still have that, whether it's 20,000 or 10,000 for a certain amount, we're just not able to buy as many. And so we're just asking for that threshold where we actually have to go out and get bid prices when half the time it's proprietary anyway, and come to you guys. And you're already seeing the what we're purchasing, because we've asked for it at the first of the year. Mm-hmm. We're just trying to make it to where we don't have to come to you again and then say, oh, can you do this in emergency clause? And then someone say, no, I don't do emergency clauses. And then I'm sorry, I don't mean to be mocking, but I'm the one that gets hammered with emergency clauses all the time, because most of the time it's something that we're needing to do. And so we're just asking to raise it up to that 35 level, so it makes it a little bit easier for us to process what we've asked for and you guys have already passed.
I will say that this ordinance, changes it from ordinance to resolution. The old ordinance said ordinance, so there wouldn't be any emergency clauses anymore, because we're just waiving bidding by resolution. That's a new thing we're doing with this too.
And I'm fine with that. Change the resolution. That way you don't have to go through emergency clause,
Yeah.
but I still think that, again, we can, I think, handle everything by, if there is something to say, we waive the bidding and go on that way, and again, it'd be a lot easier now that we don't have to do an ordinance and do, emergency, vote and stuff like that. I think by resolution, we just say, yeah, we waive the competitive bidding and go on and let y'all go ahead and do your purchase. But again, it's kind of recorded. It's we know, we're aware of it.
The recording of the waiving of competitive bidding is not all that great sometimes. We get dinged on waiving of competitive bidding just to make it easier. Waiving of competitive bidding is there's a purpose behind it.
So what I'm wondering is, we're doing all this discussion, but this ordinance says 35 and 50. Are we arguing that it shouldn't be that way? Is that what the argument is?
No. We're just trying to figure out if that's what we're going to.
I think they're trying to decide if they're going to allow it.
Yeah.
And I would, in section 5, probably needs to be staying there unless they.
Yes.
I respect y'all. Y'all, what I'm wanting to purchase, y'all agreed upon and y'all gave the blessing. I would have been able to save the taxpayers 14, 15, 16,000-ish dollars by not having to do the bidding. But a gentleman brought it to Hunter's attention that I didn't do the competitive bidding as I should have. And so I respect that, he found something. So once that number was out there, that 38,000 was what I got a bid for. That's not even an option any longer. I don't think so. But that's on me. I wasn't familiar with the way it should have been, but I was trying to save the taxpayers money and save you.
I guess I'm not following that. You're saying that you had a fellow that was going to build it for less than 38,000.
I had a bid and that's what I put in the budget.
And he didn't want to bid again to come in under 38,000?
He had a quote.
Quote.
Okay.
Quote. I apologize.
But I'm saying, so he didn't want to try to bid on,
I'm saying that I can't live with what it's going to cost. I don't think that it should cost that much, and I probably wouldn't go ahead with the project for as much as it's potentially going to cost.
Yeah.
Upwards of 58 to 60,000 for what somebody else would have done for 38.
So, he said that's what he would have done it for.
Yeah,
38.
if it's up to 35, he can
Yes.
do it without having to go through the rigmarole.
Right.
Basically.
I got a quote to give to y'all in the budget at the first year, and that's what I was going to go with. And Mr. Tom said the 50,000, so I thought it was good. Miss Charlotte found that, hey, we got to change this if that's what you're going to do. So that's what we came back with y'all to do. I don't think that's an option any longer to do that at 38,000. I just don't think so.
But if this was changed and it was under 50,000, you wouldn't have to mess with it. You could just
Exactly.
hire
Yes,
who
ma'am.
you want to do.
Right.
To save money.
Right.
Or you could get another price and just come in here and we'd waive competitive bidding.
Correct.
And I'll do that.
But it's not
I'll do.
specialized, a real
You're not.
specialized thing. That's the
You're
problem with
really,
that.
you're really quick to waive competitive bidding.
Hey,
I
Charlotte,
don't-
did the other ordinance say, so in section 2, number B, it says unless previously appropriated in a line item budget. So if we had appropriated $38,000 for Brad's Sally Port, we shouldn't have had to waive competitive bidding or anything. I mean, it was a line item. It was a line item. So whether or not it exceeded 20,000 or not, that's irregardless. We budgeted for 38,000.
I don't know. The auditors are always saying if it's over this much money, then
It
why
says
didn't we take
unless,
bids? So I
unless
don't know.
previously appropriated in a line item budget.
And y'all don't show the auditors that?
They're the ones that know the
They-
law.
Yeah, they tell us.
Well, then we need to take this out of the ordinance.
That's not about competitive bidding.
They were not a line item. We did that. We changed that this year. Capital itself is a line item.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go this year, still would have to get a bid.
You need that besides of this year.
Yeah, it seems 35,000.
Excellent point.
Good to go.
Well, ultimately, we wouldn't let him put anything in the line item budget that exceeded this resolution, correct? Or how does that work?
No.
No, you can.
Yeah.
The problem is it's not the cost. Cost is irrelevant if he's got what it's gonna, if he puts in there 50,000 or 48,000, that's not it. All you're deciding is what's the threshold that he is required to go out and bid. That's all.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're gonna get a better price. It
Right.
doesn't mean you're gonna get a worse price.
That you just read wasn't about competitive bidding, Ralph.
Right.
It's just.
That's what I'm
it's just a
saying.
Bid process.
He shouldn't.
Y'all appropriate the money, but it still have to go out for bid over a certain threshold.
Over those thresholds. Now, you made it tougher. You said, well, we're not gonna go with the state's bid requirement, not the cost. Cost is already in his budget, and you've already.
We don't go with the state on a lot of our ordinances.
Okay.
Right.
You have the option of making it tougher. And that's what you're doing. You're saying, no, we think that if you put it out for bid, you're gonna get a better price, and you're gonna serve the citizens and the taxpayers' dollars, and that may be the case, may not, we don't know.
But what you're finding is that's not the case.
It's April Fool, so we're joking. I blame Hunt. I blame Hunter for this. He's very, very good at his job, and it needs to be done the right way. And I think that's what these department heads are doing. They're trying to do it the right way. We would never go against what y'all.
Well, I would tell the guy that's giving you the quote that my max is 35 grand. If you can't do it for that, I'll move on.
Sir.
You know what I'm saying?
You giving
I
me the
mean, we
blessing?
can reverse engineer this.
You giving me the
I mean, you'll find somebody that'll do it for 35 grand in this town. 100%.
That'd be code
Oh,
though.
it'll be code. Heck, I'll do it for that. I don't even know what I'm doing.
But back to
My cousin's got a contractor license. I can use it.
his point, that man back there makes sure, he's shaking his head no, but he's making, his job is to make sure he builds it by code, especially if it belongs to the city. I mean, it doesn't matter, but I would emphasize if it's a
It's a
city's,
Sally port. What kind of code could there possibly
you'd be surprised.
It's got to be the fascia's got to be.
Mhm.
I've since learned that I have to get a structural engineer. I mean, the price is just every time you. Hunter might be able to speak.
Well, you
for-
just said
You
price
gotta-
when you said engineer.
Structural engineers got to get involved. That's what I'm saying. I think at this point, it's gotten so. I was just ignorant of the way it worked. Unfortunately, so from now on, when I go and ask y'all for money, I will get with Hunter and know what I'm talking about prior to asking for that. So that money will potentially be there. I just don't think we could do it for the 38,000. I don't know what a structural engineer costs, but apparently they get paid pretty good.
Okay.
So this is we're passing this ordinance, but you said something about a resolution, Charlotte.
Yeah, our old ordinance said ordinance. It must be passed by ordinance. Now, state law says resolution, so it needs to say resolution.
I'm fine with the resolution. I think that could make things easier.
If competitive bidding's waived.
That's to waive it, yeah, to do the actual document. Housekeeping.
But this is an ordinance.
Yeah, because we have to establish our procedures by ordinance.
Right.
The waiving and the bidding itself is by resolution now.
I'll make a motion that we pass this ordinance for second reading by title only.
Second.
Motion and second.
Mr. Brown,
No.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Terry.
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
and Mr. Powell.
No.
I'm allowed to vote here. Vote yes.
Passes with the mayor's vote for second reading. An ordinance repealing ordinance number 20-09, establishing bidding procedures, authorizing the mayor to make purchases and enter into contracts on behalf of the city for all purchases, defining professional services, waiving competitive bidding for professional services, and authorizing the waiving of competitive bidding on the purchases or contracts when not feasible or practical, or as may be otherwise authorized by state law, declaring emergency and for other purposes. Are we at the majority of 3 now instead of 4? Because Eureka Springs told me the opposite.
Because of the missing.
And only in the vacancy is
We
3.
didn't accept, we didn't declare one, so we're still working on the 6.
Majority of the quorum though.
Well, we still have a councilman, apparently, because they didn't accept
The
it.
quorum is these five.
Yeah, I know.
3-2.
I know when, but
It's
it's
not
up the
tied.
whole.
I think when you still have seating, I'll let you guys.
It shouldn't be hard to find. I don't care. I
If
just
our
wanna make sure
majority is
I know.
for it. we had
It
to
would
have-
have passed if I hadn't, correct?
I think so.
Okay.
It's of the whole 6. I've
Yes.
been through this so many times.
Yeah.
And just
If
speaking
we-
everybody else.
If you'd have not, if you'd have voted to accept his resignation, you would be at the 5.
But he's not part of this quorum tonight.
Right,
Correct.
and it doesn't,
But
voting takes place on on the 6th.
The question
Even
is
if
whether
we're
the
not-
mayor can vote. Normally it's a
sorry.
3-3 tie, if you're wondering what we're discussing. In a 3-3 tie, the mayor can vote only in the affirmative, not in the negative. We're trying to figure out on a 3-2 vote if he's allowed to.
which it would have passed anyway by 3-2 if we're going by that Sir?
Mayor is allowed by, whether it's 3-1 or 3-3, the mayor can provide a fourth vote.
Well, I think Mr. Plummer's arguing or saying that since one is missing, majority would be 3, but it's always it's a 6, even if they're not here, as long as we've got a quorum of 4.
The body.
Yeah. Sorry,
Doesn't change
It
doesn't change the results. We'll make sure we
hash it out.
hash it out. Thank you very much. Moving on to number 3.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I agree with you. But I'll ask Mr. Plummer. So it's 14-43-501. And it says mayors also have a vote to establish a quorum. So even if it was less than that, you can still vote in the affirmative on the 4. And that's out of 14-44-107. But it says the mayor may vote when a mayor's vote is needed to pass any ordinance, bylaw, resolution, or motion. You agree with that, Mr. Plummer?
Is that
Or
a
am I-
regularly stated meeting, or is that a special call, or is there any difference?
I can't.
What code number, Rod?
It's in 14-43-501.
I'm there.
And it's in 14-44-107 and 14-45-105. The mayors, where it says mayors also have a vote to establish a quorum, which would be less than what we have, is 14-43-501 and 14-44-107.
That one wouldn't apply because that's for cities of second class.
Okay, and 14-45-105.
And that's incorporated towns, so that wouldn't apply.
Okay, so
the
that's,
first one.
it's just the first one. And I'm reading that out of the Arkansas Municipal League's mayor council form of government.
Yeah, I think the question is not if I could have voted, is it what's the quorum, the established quorum, and we understand. Charlotte has always understood. And I'm not.
This has come up a lot.
Yeah, that
because it's confusing.
That it's even if all 6 aren't here,
Yes.
that's how you base the quorum on. If one's not council anymore, and you're working with 5, that changes it.
You know, Eureka Springs told me, I had this discussion with her today, and they have 2 vacancies right now
And there's
on their council, and she was told 3 on the vacancy, like we discussed this morning on the phone, and still 4 for all other matters.
Are they a council, mayor form of government, or
Yeah.
city board?
No. Their council.
Whatever Mr. Plummer says, he makes the big bucks, you know?
And how?
That's the second time he's mentioned that tonight.
That outdated 1990
Well,
city attorney ordinance.
Let's see here. A majority of the whole number of members of a governing body constitutes a quorum for the transaction of business.
If there was just 3 here, the mayor could make a quorum.
Right.
That's right.
Right, well, that's just establishing a quorum. What you're talking about is the vote.
Right.
What establishes a majority vote.
Of the
What
vote.
Charlotte said, it's under your total governing body. So that's the way it was, we had that discussion several months ago.
You're saying it still have to be a 4 vote.
That's the way we understood it, and it would have passed either way.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they've
Yeah,
always told us.
Didn't change the vote.
'Cause it's
We're gonna move on, and we'll try to
figured out.
make sure we're doing the right thing. Again, it wouldn't have changed the vote. Number 3 is a payment of Crawford Construction invoice from Cuthbert Bridge Project. It was tabled from previous meeting. I don't know how much Mr. Plummer has gotten to look into this or not. Okay, my suggestion is if it's worth anything, I don't know if I'm hearing correct from Mr. Plummer. My opinion is we need to get this paid. It was part of the project. There's some evidence, if you will, Mr. Craig has a possession of emails in regarding this particular item on that project list. Was it great to the way it ended up? But it is what it is. And I think we owe this amount to Crawford Construction I just don't see any point in fighting it and trying to, and not paying it. I hate the fact that we've got a $24,000 invoice and still owed.
Where's the money coming from?
General,
I'm against that.
or wherever you desire.
It has to be the parks. That's who it says it's to. City of Greenwood Parks Department.
I'm okay with that. I think the Parks Commission is going to have an issue, but that's, and I only say that because, and I don't want to drag up any ill feelings or anything from this project. We all kind of know how this project went, and I don't mean anything bad, but it was, I think you have a point on that, and I don't disagree with your point. That's, but, yes, sir.
Pay Crawford because they did the work and it is critical to the bridge.
Mhm.
And then if you feel like Holmes was the contractor, if in essence, and sublet it to Crawford without us initially knowing about that being done, then you can take it up to Crawford. But this is dragged on forever and it just needs to be resolved.
I don't care to pay the bill. We need to pay the bill.
I agree with you.
To pay it.
I agree it's legitimate.
Okay. Mr. Craig, you have something? Yeah, if you'll come up.
For the record.
Casey Craig, best way. I'm gonna pull a Tim and not get my house number.
How come nobody lives in the city limits?
Yeah, nobody.
Sorry.
Do we have any employees that live in the city?
You got a few.
A couple.
Okay.
I think the Crawford is the contractor and Holmes would be the sub in this scenario. Because Crawford did the work and just used Holmes as equipment.
Contacted Crawford to do the work and then
Right.
offered to let them, they said we don't have the.
Right.
But on Daniel's spreadsheet, it says Crawford Construction is the contractor. Right. And use Holmes equipment as a sub.
Right.
So we just need a vote to.
Yeah.
This was an email sent on April 18th, just as an update to the project. The bridge was set on May 1st, and it shows Crawford as the vendor. Estimated amount was $24,000. The description of the work was to drive piles. And then it kind of shows you a cost breakdown up here. It says zero balance of or zero amount paid, and the balance due is 24,000. And
That's kind of confusing because I thought that Crawford sent the bill to Holmes.
And Holmes said, no, you need to build the city. And Crawford's response was, you were the ones that asked us to do the work. They got on there as a result of that because then it was thrown up in question. But the problem is, it needed to be done, and we needed somebody to do it, because the bridge wouldn't be sitting there right now if that pile wasn't driven.
And then further down on the detail of work completed, it says Crawford dry piles and placed concrete pile caps for the bridge ends, and it says it was completed.
I know it's kind of nitpicky, but can we have parks pay for half and half of it come from general?
I mean, if it's my personal opinion, I don't know if I can give you my personal opinion or not.
Go ahead.
We weren't really asked for these specific amounts. We were more or less told.
Neither was a general fund.
I can sympathize with that 100%. And that's the unfortunate part of both ends, right?
Well, I agree that it needs to be paid. And so I move that we, pay for it too, just out of general.
Are we gonna need a budget resolution for this, Tom?
I think so.
Because it's not budgeted, right? So we need to do an amendment to the budget?
Second AC's motion.
Pay out of general. Right.
I seconded AC's motion.
Okay.
Do we need to just say just general? That's good enough to say where it's going to come from? Okay.
So we have a motion and a second.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry,
No.
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
Mr. Powell,
Yes.
passed by majority.
Thank you. Number 4 is ordinance approving procurement services. We tabled this from last meeting also. We do have, I believe you have, yes, a ordinance. And again, this is not to say we're doing business with any particular procurement company. This says we're going to add it to our ability to, our professional services list. If that pure and simple. And as we may not ever use a procurement company, but as we move into these projects and we reach out to procurement company to say, what can you do for us? And they come up with an idea and save us money, then we would have the ability to do that.
Oh, the name of the business is Procurement Consulting Services?
No, that is just that's somebody that would do that. That's not a particular service, if that makes sense. It's a service, but it's not any specific procurement service. Right?
Yeah.
Ms. Derry?
Pardon, say it again. I was reading.
That's okay. So this is not to obligate us to any particular procurement company.
Right.
It's just to add them to our list of professional services, this type of company.
It's just declaring that the council considers this a professional service,
Thank
which
you.
is thereby exempt from bidding procedures.
Right. Talking about the whole bidding process. This is an actual possibility of not having to follow that process.
So you're saying,
We use these, our agency uses these.
Come up. No. No. I'm sorry.
Our agency uses these and sometimes it's very beneficial.
Yeah.
It speeds things up dramatically.
And I know they came in, a particular company did come here and was represented by an ex-employee of the Municipal League of 30 years, and she has now moved on to RDOT. She got another job. So she came in representing that particular company, and it sounded almost too good to be true. So my first question to this company was, is this, auditors, how's this work? And they said that's so far so good. And I've talked to a couple of other towns that are doing just what I'm suggesting. We just add it to the list of professional services.
Yeah.
And once it came down to it, if it's Smith Procurement Company, they would be here to tell you what they're going to do or what they would be offering us before we agreed to it. You said the Game and Fish does? Okay.
I'll make a motion, we pass this ordinance for first reading by title only.
Second.
Now, a motion and a second.
Mrs. Brown,
yes.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
Mr. Powell,
Yes.
unanimous. An ordinance declaring procurement consulting services to be professional services pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 19-11-801 and amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Greenwood, Arkansas.
Thank you. Mr. Bell, were you going to speak on this one or? Okay, number 5 is originally was placed on by Councilman McDaniel on the Trevino annexation discussion tabled. So Mr. Bell is here to answer any questions that you have on this. I think Mr. McDaniel was just a friend of, I don't even know for sure. But anyway, it's irrelevant at the moment. Okay.
It appeared on the
Yeah.
agenda, and
Yeah.
Hey, Sonny, where is this property?
it's on top of the hill addition, about halfway down, backed up to the Chaffee. And basically what the gentleman, he already owns property up there, but where he needs to build his house is at the far back part of the property, and it overextended into property that's outside the city limits that he owns also. And so he wants to cut out a portion of that so he can put his house there. Well, to do that, we have to replat the subdivision because we're changing the outline of the subdivision. And then we have to annex that portion that is over the line into the city. So when you look at the subdivision of the Hill Addition, instead of a straight line going across the north part of it, it'll go across and there'll be a little thing like that.
But he's just wanting to annex just a portion of his
Just a
property that's
portion.
out.
Yes.
How much is the rest of it
How much is the rest of what?
that's outside the city limits?
I think 25 acres.
So the city limits doesn't butt,
What'd you say?
40, what?
40.
the city limits doesn't butt up to Fort Chaffee on that area.
No. Oh, there is a kind of a buffer there that, like I said, there's 40 acres there that the people that own it use it for hunting for forever. And it really needs to come into the city because it's actually an enclave.
I don't know how it's missed the last 4 or 5 enclaves we've went through.
Do I?
We went through 4 or 5 different enclaves we've tried to clean up since I've
Well,
been here.
yeah, I'm trying to clean those up now. You know, Valley Loop's one of them, and a couple of them out on 96 and down Ware Road. And I'm in the process of working with the state and getting all that all approved.
This is not an enclave, right? I'm sorry. What is?
Do I? No,
Yes.
this part isn't the property behind there that he owns, the same people own it, is an
Oh.
enclave
Due to Chaffee?
due to
and-
Chaffee.
and city limits.
And the city limits. It's surrounded on 3 sides.
Okay, we're not creating one.
No,
We're actually taking a piece
I
out
always
of it.
wondered why the city limits didn't go all the way to Chaffee in the first place.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize there was county property.
well, if you'll remember, some years back, I wrote that state statute that allowed us to annex property that's surrounded on 3
Right.
sides with the
Right.
government property, state parks and rivers and lakes and other things. It became an enclave, you know, the big one that would scare everybody to death is actually Bean Ridge. That whole area there is an enclave and we're surrounded on 3 sides. So that's, you know, it's a possibility. It's one of those things that I don't know if we want to jump into that because then we would have to take care of it.
So how much does he, of that 40 acres, how much acreage is he wanting to bring in?
Let me show you.
While you're looking, he has a house on the current property and he's wanting
No,
to.
he's wanting to build a house. Yeah. This is
an empty lot.
This is the lot as it is now, this square lot. This is the Hill Addition. This is the road that goes through the Hill Addition. He's wanting to bring this portion here out of the city limits into the city limits so he can build a house right here because of the lay of the land. And this is the flat part of that property. And so what he's wanting to do is to annex this portion here.
Why wouldn't he make a triangle? I mean, a rectangular, just do the whole depth and go from here over, just to make it more following property lines and stuff.
He may not own that other stuff on either side.
Yeah, he owns all that. This is 40 acres that goes back here. He owns all that.
That's my,
This looks like that pool over there in Oak Addition or whatever it's called that we moved the lines for and lost right away and then they didn't build a pool. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I agree with AC. If he'd come by with making that whole thing a rectangle, then, but
I think it makes more
This-
sense to say, hey, I want to annex the rest of my property.
this looks like a can of worms. We're fixing every Tom, Dick, and Harry in here wanting to put little triangles and squares and outbreakers on their property so they can add a dog pen or something.
Well, you know, all property is not square, but I mean, you have a legitimate point there. And that would have been my suggestion also was to bring in the whole 40 acres and then make that 40 acres part of the subdivision. But then we get into water and sewer and things like that we can't
Right.
provide up there. And this is just kind of an output of that property.
But if we don't take the whole, everything, we've created an enclave.
The enclave's already there.
Enclave's already there.
It can stay regardless of what we do here or not.
If you want something from us, let's take the whole thing. Because all he's going to do is do something to irritate his neighbors up there on the stuff that's out. He might start an ostrich farm and then I'll have Pete James calling me saying, why? And I said, we just annexed just enough so he could have water and, get water to his house and then the rest of it's in the county.
Well, I don't think any of that's gonna happen. It looks super sketch to me, just having one little finger out there. I don't know why he wouldn't just want to go the whole rectangle. I'm curious to how much actual acreage there is on either side of his little finger there.
It would be 74 foot on both sides of the square. So you're talking about 125 foot there. The square itself is 90 foot wide by 95 foot deep.
Sort of asking for another 95 by 125 and times two. If you're saying 125 on each side of that little.
Again, like I said, this all is going to come back to you guys. We're just in the process now. I wrote the ordinance on 3/13/24 and Charla approved it. We posted it today. So he's got a sign out in front of it. Published, it'll probably come out in the paper Wednesday. If not this Wednesday, next Wednesday. The letters went out today, I believe. And for the public hearing, it has to go to the Planning Commission, which will be on the 15th. If they approve it, or if they have the same issues that you guys do, it will, they'll make a decision. If it's approved, then it comes to you guys at your next council meeting, which is May the 6th. And then it becomes your decision. So we're in the process of moving it through our system. And, somebody comes in and they say, here's what I want to do. I can't tell them, you can't do that. All I can do is to follow through with what they file and what they want to do, and then bring it to the Planning Commission and then bring it to you guys.
I think it makes it more reasonable just to make it a nice.
Well, then, like I said, if the Planning Commission approves it, and I will pass along to the Planning Commission, the conversation that we had tonight on this, that the council has looked at this and they really would like to have this extended out there. And the Planning Commission can say, we agree with that. If they say, well, if he wants to do that, whatever. And then it comes to you guys and y'all can say, no, we're not going to approve that until you give us the whole area there, or the 40 acres.
Well, I was going to say, don't forget to mention to the Planning Commission that it's an enclave anyway, and it may get annexed to the entire deal. So,
yeah, and I will.
And to Mr. Trevino, whoever, it'd be nice if he was here. I don't know who this guy is, but I'd like to ask him what his thoughts would be about this rectangle on the whole thing.
He wants to keep, that 40 acres for hunting. That's his.
But I'm just saying, on either side of that little finger is not 40 acres.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I mean, I can't.
And we can have that conversation with him tomorrow.
Well, and if he's going to build a house on that there, he can't hunt on those two sides of that finger either. Because
Don't know.
Well, I mean, we just passed the ordinance, then there are ordinances about shooting around a bit structure.
Well, yeah, but if it's in the county, can we control that?
Still got to follow the game fish, 50.
Yeah, I mean, they've got rules too.
I don't know. Like I said, that's above my pay grade.
Well, approving that little finger is not above my pay grade, so
I'm not a hunter, so I can't tell you if he could, if he might be able to walk out the back door and shoot a deer. I don't know. That's a Ralph question.
I'd like to see if there's tracks going across Firebreak.
Well, I think in the city limits, it gets to 100 as long as there wasn't a building within however many yards.
With a bow and
But that's where we are on the annexation. Like I said, all the paperwork's been done, posted, published. It'll go to the Planning Commission on the 15th of this month, depending on their decision or whatever. It'll come to you guys in May, and then we can go from there.
Is there a cost to replat it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he would have to have it resurveyed.
And so that would be on him to resurvey it and replat it and add it to his.
Well, like I said, I'll present that to the Planning Commission when I talk to them. I'll tell them that we had this conversation. And one, you would like to entertain the thought of annexing the whole 40 acres, or at the very least, come across that area there and make it a rectangle.
I make a motion, we approve that with those stipulations there.
Well, it's not up for vote
okay.
tonight. It was just for conversation. So, but I will move that along with those thoughts, AC.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna approve this little finger. Like I said, you were rectangle that.
Moving on to number 6 in new business is a resolution to utilize federal aid funds for streetscape. Jeff's not here tonight. Hadn't been feeling well, so I've been asking Jeff to look into this for quite some time, and so I'll tell you what my definition of the streetscape is. All the I don't even know what the technical name, but all the non-parking areas around the square in front of the businesses. Mr. Skinner's down there. There's quite a bit of area that's striped, no parking. It goes around the corner a little bit. It's down in front of, I think, Miss Bell's business, maybe the chamber. And then over on the square, there's some areas that are the same. And so what I've been wanting or dreaming of, if you will, is turning those areas into curbed and guttered, if you will, like is on Garrison Avenue. Those outlets and decorative more than anything. But so, and the reason there's no funding, what the first process you have to do is, as you've known before in the past, when you pass these resolutions to start the process, you have to have this passed by the council to say that we're interested in it. We don't have a cost estimate yet. I've talked to Jeff in depth about this. I think we can do a lot of this ourselves. So I don't see this as being a $500,000 project by any means. I think it's just a matter of knowing what you're doing with the street department, going over there, removing some asphalt, because you can't plant plants on, that much soil and expect them to live more than 6 months. So you'd have to be digging some of that out. Yes, sir. Thank you. Parking island. Thank you very much. So that's what this is about, is just to get, if you would approve to have us look into that, we would come back, or Jeff would come back with a cost, and then you'd know what your 80-20 match is.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the resolution.
Let me ask you,
Yes, sir.
it looks nice, don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
But during Freedom Fest, Christmas parade, there's a lot of moving parts.
Yep.
Food trucks, people. That's space that, we could have vendors.
Well, you can, and typically if it's nothing there, you're going to have that, but it's not. We thought about that, sir.
Pulling trailers and
Yeah,
backing trailers.
you restrict some of your movement. Absolutely.
I think I'd like to see a plan before we obligate.
Well, you're only saying to let us start that, and we'd be glad to come back and show you.
So we're saying that we're allowing you to look into it, but we'd like for you to come back
Absolutely.
with a plan.
Yeah.
Showing
Yeah,
kind
we'll
of
have
what.
diagram of what it does, and it will restrict. The what'd you call them? Parking out, non-parking, which means you can't park there. Yeah. And it definitely would restrict. And there's another thing, Casey's back there, but I don't know that Jeff talked to him. Did he, Casey? Okay. Yeah, Alma has done this plus. They literally took part of their turn lane in the center, which I love, but talk about getting murdered, or they actually took downtown where it was not, they didn't need a turn lane the length of the road, and they took those and made these planters and planted trees in there too. So we're not really looking to do that so much yet, but to me, this is just a start. But you're right. It absolutely will restrict, have some restrictions to it.
Some of that restriction though is a calming effect on traffic for people walking off that sidewalk and trying to cross, because people kind of blaze through there. But Ralph is correct. We've got so many events down there that a plan would be nice to see.
Yeah, that's no problem. We can.
Would it even pertain to right over there by Farmers Bank and the old gas station? That little concrete island right there. That's where you either turn down and go Old Hackett Road, or you can go straight.
I would love to do it everywhere that makes sense. The bridge, the turn that the big trucks are not supposed to take, at the, beyond the caboose, and they turn left and they scrape the bottom of their trucks on that island. You know, Fort Smith, I'll use an example where it probably became, and well, they didn't remove it, but when you get to Fort Smith and you're there at that light where you have Super Center in your vision over here and the banks on your left, I can't remember you don't know where I'm talking about. Is that terrible directions? There's an island out there. It's terrible directions. Is that what you're saying? There's a big island out there, and it was, when they first did it, it was beautiful. They've kind of let it go. They still have perennials or annuals out there every once in a while, but it's not like it used to be. But no, I would. No.
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 I think
You got
about
Popeyes.
71, yeah.
Yeah,
Popeyes.
basically 71 and 0.
That's Candace Bank now.
Yeah.
Candace Bank is there.
Cadence Bank's on the left. That old restaurant's on the right, and you got,
Right.
there's a lot of these islands there that they've done the same thing with. But, you know, when all that was, I would love to go out center or what is now center and do some of that, but I want to start small.
It always was center.
Sir,
It always
that's
was
true.
center.
That's true. Yeah, we just want to start small. So we'll bring you, and we can wait on, if you want to wait to pass this until I bring you a map.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. So I'll table this for next month.
You got one minute.
I'm sorry. Yes, sir. You talking about Fort Smith? Yeah. Yep.
Substantial room,
Mm-hmm.
and with the way you have the schools and mothers, and parents going from this school to that school, zipping around and all this, you're literally turning this kind of a slot. It's like it'd be like smart cars with moms with their cup of coffee and their kids and little Joey in the back seat. Hey, Joey, and you're going around this curve. You're up, jumped over.
Nope.
You're going to curb clip. This guy is not like Fort Smith got Garrison. It makes a sweet.
Well, so to your point, when they come around the corner off of Main onto the square, it's dangerous. I sat there one day and watched a bus come around there.
That's where the calming effort.
It'll stop them. It'll eventually.
You're gonna crush cars with little moms, but
Nah, I don't-
you know the whole idea that it's room when you see things that are done like out there in the middle of those islands, like you say 71.
Mm-hmm.
That's how open there's lights and everything, and there's room to move and maneuver around these things. This town is not designed like that. It's condensed as it is.
That's
And
fine.
I'm just saying that's my opinion.
No, I understand.
For all it's worth, but I put these things in, and I know, we've gone through that same discussion you had.
Mhm.
And it was like, we need to go back to the engineers and realize it took a lot more room and had to, we'll make this turn, like all of a sudden, that went like this, and they couldn't make this hard turn. They had to cut all that out, so we could make a gradual turn to give the motors enough time to adjust to what's going on.
Yeah, I don't want to go out and impede traffic by any means. So these places that are marked, you're not supposed to be parking or driving on them now, and there's nothing to stop you from it. And I understand what you're saying. I don't want to put anything up there that's going to damage or cause a wreck either. But no, we'll look into that and see what makes sense.
If we got the traffic, which, I mean, it's supposed to be, before you get that bridge, it's supposed to be, traffic's supposed to slow down at the from the schools, parents are trying to go across. And, you know where I live.
Yeah, I do. Got a nice house.
It's nice, it really is. I got lots of deer and shad right behind it.
He bought my house in case you
So, I know the same thing as people coming to work right here every day. It's like you take a break, go across.
Well, I got people begging for speed bumps too. So, and then I got people telling me you better not do it. I'll sue you. So,
You're not trying to win on it.
Right.
So I'm just saying,
Yeah.
why
Well,
can't you put these things in?
Yeah, we will. And we may holler at you and say, hey, come and tell us what you think about this since you've done it. So we'll bring back a plan. We'll table this.
Can
Thank
you
you.
fix traffic signals?
And when he means fix, take out.
There's a motion on the floor.
There is a motion on the floor to table.
Yeah,
No,
second.
No,
No?
to pass it. That was Rod.
Oh, that's right. Rod, what do you want to do?
I could rescind it until we get it, see a
Okay.
plan.
Okay.
Rescind.
I would like to see a plan.
So now I need a motion to table it.
Table
Second.
Second.
Goodness.
Thank
that
you.
was Weird.
I know, that was weird.
Oh,
Double table
Mr.
second.
Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Maker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Has anybody heard the weather not to be,
We're clear for now.
you didn't want to be here to begin with?
Yeah.
We're good.
We're good? Okay. Okay.
We've got 20 more minutes. Cram it in.
All right. Number 7, water distribution resolution waiving competitive bidding on purchase of truck. Who's gonna,
Competitive bidding?
You know, the auditors don't like us.
I know, I'm just reading what it says.
This was in the budget, correct?
Yep. I don't get to, I proof this, but I don't get to, they don't ask my opinion.
What now, Mr. Posey?
This is state bid.
Teresa, I think was.
Yeah.
State
She's
your
not here
address.
tonight. It's, you just can't hardly buy a truck on the state purchasing program anymore. We bought one last year through RDOT and I approved it. Travis looked at the contract and okayed it and it was good.
Is this in the budget, you said?
Budget.
We're just wanting to waive competitive bidding, huh? Golly.
I'll make a motion to
Thank you.
waive competitive bidding.
Thank you. Thank you, Weatherman Tom. We have a motion and a second to waive competitive bidding.
Tim second.
I did not. AC did.
Oh,
AC.
AC. Mr. Brown?
I just got cussed for waiving.
Yes.
competitive bidding.
Yeah.
Mr. Maker? Mr.
Yes.
Terry?
I guess, yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Let the record know that Mr. Rainwater is not present. Who
Stick
knows?
your head in there and ask Roger.
It's unanimous.
I'm
It's
kidding.
unanimous. That we don't need.
We don't need it. Thank you. Number 8, water distribution resolution amending budget for splash pad utility improvements.
That was a bid, went out for bid and came in crazy high. So wastewater and water, something we committed to a few years ago, running water and sewer to the splash pad. I think the total bid was like 450,000. I'm having to increase mine. It is budgeted, but I think 70,000, that's the number there, Tom.
Is this whole project even still moving?
Splash pad? Not my project, but except for the water. And we can't give them a notice to proceed until y'all amend the budget, should you choose to.
Well, I thought I got an email or something said there was a humongous change order and they were skeptical about whether they were going to cease and desist the whole deal. I didn't know if is that on the budget tonight or the agenda? No?
All about that. That's
Maybe it wasn't an
Mark's.
email. Maybe it was a text. Huh?
That's-
Maybe, I guess. Yeah. I don't-
No, I thought we were going to have one and it was canceled.
It was.
Oh,
And they said that was because there was going to be maybe additional things added to it, like park benches or.
The reason I'm asking is because I hate to amend and raise this if the splash pad's going to go away. I mean,
People telling me.
I think.
Well,
I
I
think-
originally budgeted 80 and we're asking for an additional 70. Wastewater is going to also have an increase as well. It's
Has this
just,
gone out for bid?
it has.
Who's the winning contractor?
We had one contractor and it was Crawford, one bidder.
So Tim, number 11 is still connected to it.
And I think it came in right at 450. I've saw numbers on unit items I've never seen before. And there is a lot of rock up there. I mean,
is that in the bid?
Pardon?
Is that in the bid, the blowing of the rock, blasting and drilling and whatever? Because that seems to be the theory of what's the word I'm looking for?
The change order or whatever.
No, yeah, that's the recurring. It always happens. Everything that gets built up there, we get this super low bid and wow, that's really cheap. And then we get $500,000 of change orders down the road. We didn't know it was gonna be that rocky. Well, it's that rocky.
I think they priced 8-inch water line at $137 a foot.
Yeah.
To give you some barometer, in 2000, now I know this is 24 years ago.
Right.
In 2000, we installed at a unit price 12-inch pipe, SDR 14, which is the heaviest PVC pipe you can put in for $20 a foot. Now, that was 24 years ago,
Right.
but a lot of this increase has happened in the last 4 or 5 years. And I've never seen numbers like that on 8-inch pipe.
Well, I don't have a problem with the increase in materials and stuff. I'm just worried about when they go start putting water lines in the ground and they says, oh my God, where'd all this rock come from? And then we got to come back and say, well, we need to add 85,000 to the digging.
I didn't, our engineer put this and the wastewater together.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see it. I don't know if he included it as incidental. I can't answer that, and I'm not
So-
happy about that.
So in
and
the details, you don't know if there's a rock clause in there?
I do not. I cannot say. I think that there's either a rock clause or it's going to be incidental. I think it's probably incidental, and the contractor knew. That's why he bumped it to 137. And I should know that, but I didn't. I wasn't even at the.
Well, it's not any of your fault. If there's an engineer that's engineered this and doesn't know if there's rock up there, then he's at fault.
He knows, and the contractor doing the work knew the rock was up there.
Well,
I
I
think
can-
that's why they bid it so high.
I can tell you this, I'm not voting for any change order that comes back for any reasoning because we ran into rock and didn't know, and it's going to cost us a lot more than we originally thought on the water, on the splash pad digging. I don't care because I'm tired of blowing all this money up there on this deal and everybody playing stupid. Like, I didn't know there was rocks up here.
Typically, when you see a high bid on pipe like that, it's considered incidental, and so they bid it high to cover themselves, to make sure they don't
Right.
come up short. And Jeremy likes to bid it as incidental. That's typically the way he does it. Other than that, it would be by the cubic yard and how much they remove, or so. It being $137 a foot for 8-inch pipe, I suspect that that's the unit price. Now, my increase is only like $61,000. I budgeted 70 because it's either going to come in like this or like this. It's not going to be right there. It's
Yeah.
going to be a little over or under. It's by the unit item.
Right.
So
We
Yeah,
gotta get
seven-
$24,000 credit.
it's
Sorry, Casey.
Crawford bid on these projects after they more or less learned the lay of the land. So once they discovered that they were on solid rock, this project went out for bid. What MHG, Crawford, Olson, all the civil engineers and MHG have gone back to drawing board on is to raise the elevation of the entire project. They're using some other projects that Crawford's working on in town to bring in built and hopefully be able to raise that project where we don't have to get into the rock as much, and we're able to just raise those elevations and build basically at a higher elevation. Because the rock price is about $130 a cubic yard, and their fill price will be substantially lower. I think it's $20 a cubic yard, but they're able to use material from other projects to bring that cost down a little bit.
Are they gonna have to build a retaining wall to hold that up?
They already have a spec in the project.
So Tim, with this additional increase, that does give you like, the way I figure another, about a 10,000 cushion, like saying to go.
right in there. I mean, they never, I try to come in hungry. It's over 700 feet of pipe. Maybe they lay 650, they get paid for 650. It never comes right there. So that's why I love it just a little bit. Hopefully, we won't have to come back and ask for more. I mean, that's.
I make a motion, we adopt the resolution.
Second.
I guess we got this money, Tom.
All you tell us about our tax revenues are trash and we just keep raising money and spending money and spending money and spending money.
He wouldn't have put it in there if we didn't have it, that's for sure.
Right, they're a unique animal, they have a revenue support structure.
We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker? Mr.
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Number 9 is wastewater department resolution waiving competitive bidding on lift station repairs. Waive competitive bidding.
I would like to do 11, 10 ahead of 9. I think
10
that,
ahead of 9.
Yeah.
Resolution amending budget for Plumbark lift station repairs.
The old switcheroo.
initially, I put 50,000 in the budget as a placeholder for that project. We were in the middle of trying to get our mini mall lift station repaired in the middle of town, and I couldn't get a contractor to that site to give me a price, so I just stuck 50,000 in the budget as a placeholder. We finally got a contractor out to give us an estimate on that repair last month, and that came in at $153,000. So I'm requesting an increase to the budget of $130,000, which gives us a $27,000 contingency, depending on some unknown variables to that repair. There's a lot about that site that we're just not going to know until we get the bypass pump set up and we can suck that lift station down, and we're pushing water a different way than through the site to determine the extent of the damage.
Is this all kind of as a result too of the new development going out there west of town?
No, this has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
I guess just that site's 24-ish years old, I believe, and it's just the concrete base is eroded to the best of our knowledge at this point, and the bases have dropped, and we have one pump cavitating against the floor currently, so we're only running on one pump at that site currently. And the only way to do anything about it is to set a bypass up to get the water off of the site so we can suck it down, clean it out, and figure out what's wrong with it.
Any more questions, Mr.?
So number
Dalton.
10, you're wanting to go to 130.
Yes, it'll be a budget increase of $130,000.
Oh, okay.
It'll be a total budget line item of $180,000 after the resolution of $130,000. That has a $27,000 contingency in it for unknown variables that we're unsure of at this time.
So you're sure of 153?
Yeah, that was the estimate from the contractor. I met them on site and we discussed everything that we're sure they're going to need to do, but there are some unknowns that we're going to have to get in there and get the site emptied before we know.
They're in the same boat. We're looking at betterments and improvements between $7 and $8 million. The debt service is funded into the rate, and their city sales and use tax for this current project can cover that.
I'll make a motion, we pass this resolution.
Second. Motion and second to pass resolution?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Yes, sir.
Now, number 9 is to waive competitive bidding on this project due to us coming in the rainy time of year, and we're only running on one pump at that site, and that site takes a significant amount of water from surrounding residences in that area.
So it's a time issue.
It's a time issue. You know, we're coming in the rainy time of year, and the last thing we need is an overflow out there. Now, the contractors have given me a date where they intend on starting to mobilize equipment this Friday, and then they'll start that project next week as soon as I give them the go-ahead after we do this.
I have no problem waiving competitive bidding.
I'm gonna wait. Comes under the
second.
extraordinary. Right? That motion and second.
Is that a motion there?
I think-
Yes.
Well, I can't assume. There are comments all through the meeting. Okay. Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 11.
Number 11, as Tim already stated, we've got a consolidated bid for the splash pad project, and that came
Just,
in.
I guess one thing though, just because we haven't really passed the, I don't know, what do you call it, spending thing or whatever, and that says by ordinance. So do we have to change this since we're not really operating by resolution yet?
We've been doing it by resolution. It's just,
That's fine with me. I just
Our
I didn't want to
ordinance.
hold them up in any way.
no.
Okay. Good.
As Tim had already stated, the splash pad project was bid out as a consolidated project, and that came in significantly higher than what we had anticipated in our budget. I did add an additional 50 to the budget this year on top of the 237 that was already in there for that project, and it came in at 23,000 over. So we're requesting an increase of 27,000 to cover those costs with a small buffer.
Let me ask you a question after we get done with this vote. But we got this money too, I'm guessing.
Yeah, this has been vetted through the Water Wastewater Commission, and they drilled the same questions.
Okay, I'll make the motion to pass this resolution.
Second.
Motion second to pass.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker? Mr.
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, can I ask Tom?
Oh,
a
I'm
real
sorry.
quick question?
Yes, sir.
Monday night, our little budget post eclipse party. Is there any way you can get us a breakdown of this splash pad project? And what I'd like to see specifically is how much is this going to be for like the water and sewer price? Because we can use that for other development possibly in that area. Because I've been asked how much this thing is going to cost us. I'm nervous about even getting this number, but.
I only have one copy of this, but that's the total cost, water and sewer that came back on that bid for that project. I have a copy of that.
That's just the water and sewer part.
Correct.
I need that. That lessens the blow of the whole project overall.
And the only other big component that's not in the amounts that are being generated by parks that they know of for building the splash pad has to do with the road.
Yeah.
That gets you access to the
Right.
splash pad. But that road is something that was budgeted by street to go all the way up.
Yes.
Just wasn't necessarily gonna be done this year. All it did from a cash flow perspective is move that portion of the cost ahead in the planning stages. So it's gonna be this year that they are gonna be working on that road, but only the portion to get to the
Yeah.
splash pad.
And to your point on the water wastewater, this is not just benefiting the splash pad. There's other people up there that could use this in the road. Once it gets faced back in all the way to the top, does the same thing.
So
I'm
there,
trying to get as much positive out of this. as I
Sure.
can.
how close are we to, it won't hook up the bathrooms at the Ed Wilson Pavilion.
No, but we did size it in a manner that we could possibly extend it at a later date.
And how
I see that on the
far
plan.
is that?
It's still a pretty good jog. I mean, where the splash pad's gonna sit is pretty close to Main Street in comparison to where the pavilion's at. So you've still got several hundred feet to get to
It's
that.
further to the.
So is all the water and sewer sized to where when the McConnell property develops, they'll be able to tie on?
We sized the sewer in a manner that it will accommodate any future development up there, and I can't speak to the sizing of the water line.
Because I know eventually that will develop. And it would be great if we could ever get up to the Ed Wilson Pavilion and open up bathrooms for the entire park. That park's getting really busy.
That's something that I had discussed with Casey several months or last year at some point, and we went ahead and went the extra mile to increase that line size for future capacity up there. So we didn't have to worry about a restriction at a later date.
Remember, there's rock up there.
One big one.
I read something from Lewis and Clark that mentioned how rocky the field was.
Number 12.
Number 12, I'll speak to it a little bit and then I'll let Tim take over. The Act 605 requires us to take a look at our expenses as far as, we increased the rates this year and also tap fees for water and sewer taps. And that's something that the commission wants to do every year. So they've requested that we do a repeal of the ordinance on that. And we make our tap fees policy so we can address them year to year and operate in the black instead of ever going in the red.
That's smart.
Well, it's a requirement that we did fall on the council was supposed to look at them every year. I think we had to increase a couple of years ago. We've kind of tried to hold it down, but inflation has just run off the curve, so we had to take a look at it. Actually, look at all our fees, all our other fees, all our policies. It just was less cumbersome. And we did a lot of all. I did a very, very comprehensive breakdown of all the materials
made the recommendation and there's a lot of variables in water, the different size mains. And so you try to average it out, but just like everything else, cost has just gone through the roof on
I
materials.
love
since-
increasing these. Love it.
Well,
So
it's
we-
there.
It's going to take 3 months. I make a motion, we pass this ordinance by title only for the first reading.
Second.
Motion second.
It's a 3-month.
It says, y'all were asking for it
You got it.
under emergency, but we got to do first reading first.
Okay.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
Mr. Powell,
Yes.
it's unanimous. Now, Tim, did you second that motion?
Yes.
Checking, okay. An ordinance repealing ordinance 22-18, declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Make a motion that we waive the second and third reading.
Second.
Motion second to waive, what?
Second, third
Second,
reading.
third, yeah, I'm sorry. I was
Mr. Brown?
reading something.
Third and fourth instead.
Third, fourth, all of them.
Yes.
Mr. Meeker, Mr.
Yes.
Terry,
Okay, why are we needing to waive this? Just because they want it that way?
because yes, the Water Wastewater Commission wants it
Yes.
immediate. Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
Mr. Powell,
Yes.
it's unanimous.
Make a motion to adopt this ordinance.
Second.
Motion second to adopt.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Terry.
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
and Mr. Powell,
Yes.
it's unanimous.
Make a motion to enact emergency clause.
Second.
Motion second to enact emergency clause.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
Mr. Powell,
No.
okay. It fails for like a majority.
You had majority.
One more, yeah, it passes by majority, yeah.
You have 4 votes. You got majority.
This majority thing's really good.
It is hard.
That's hard. 51%.
Anybody wants to take a look?
Nope, you're doing good. You're doing good.
Well, that was
Bless you.
faster than I thought.
Oh, boy.
Thank you, gentlemen. Number 30, repeal and replace ordinance number 24-14, discharge of firearms in city limit.
Yeah, so this was the ordinance you guys just passed, and all we did was change a little bit of the wording, just for clarity purposes. Materially, nothing has changed. So if you look under section 1.2 that was added, there's a little bit of rewording on section 1.4, subsection 3. And then under section 1.5, added a subsection 1 under subsection A. And then an emergency clause at the end. So we would just go ahead and get it wrapped up. But materially, nothing was altered or changed.
It just more or less further stated that we expect the people the right to carry.
That's it.
Yep.
The way done clause. Make a motion to pass this ordinance by title.
Yes, sir.
Do I have this ordinance turned, just, so we can carry in town, right?
Come to the mic if you would, please. Tell us who you are.
Jack Bruce Butler. I live at 1120 North Evergreen. Just like the layman's term of what it is with the ordinance of discharging a firearm in the city limits, what is it pertaining to? Do we have open carry in this town? Or do we have?
I think the state has open carry.
It does, but I'm just saying, just check it out because I don't know what you exactly have, or just like discharging a firearm in the city. What is someone in your house,
Fire away.
far away? I'm just saying, someone's after, someone is harming someone else.
Rule on that. I'm
Chief,
just
you
saying.
want to opine or
Yes.
give him the breakdown on
I
it?
just want to make sure, because I've got. Open carry state. That's what I just making sure.
This city government cannot make a law, enact a law that will limit your ability to carry a firearm. This is strictly for hunting purposes.
Okay, that's what I needed.
I encourage you to carry 1, 2, 3 carries any weapon.
Last time I got pulled over, I said 4 was a little too much.
Just be careful, know the laws when you're traveling outside state laws. This is open carry state, constitutional carry state, you carry a weapon, you can own a weapon. This is strictly.
Sir,
Thank you.
have you seen the ordinance?
I have not seen
You
this.
can have this one. That's what's fixing to get passed.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay.
Thank you, Bruce.
Who made the
But-
motion, put it on first reading?
Mr. Pateri, second.
I don't know where we got.
Do we have a second? Second, Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Terry.
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater.
Yes.
Mr. Powell.
Yes.
It's unanimous. An ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance number 24-14, regulating the discharge of firearms, air guns, pellet guns, bows, and similar weapons within the corporate limits of the city of Greenwood, Arkansas, and for other purposes.
I make a motion, we waive the second and third reading.
Second.
Motion second.
I'm sorry, I was
Sorry.
thinking about something. Does emergency clause need to be in the title, Mr. Fullman? We're always, told that
Even it's in
it needs to
the
be.
body.
It was in the body.
Article.
I know, but they say it's supposed to be in the title if it's an emergency.
I'll add it to the, can I make an, add it right now?
Well,
I'd probably have to do that on my first motion. But I don't guess it matters now. For-
you want to amend your first motion
I
to
wanna-
include the declaration of emergency in the
In the
title?
title, yes.
Gotcha. All right, now, who made the motion second on the waive the second and third reading? Okay. Who second?
I will.
You do? Okay.
Declare.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the ordinance.
Second.
The motion second to adopt.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion to enact emergency clause.
Second.
Motion second to enact emergency clause.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Meeker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Number 14 is street. Again, Mr. Turner's not here this evening. It's a resolution to amend budget for increased cost of tractor and Vermac. I think that's how you say it, message board. So these are two items that street had in their budget that was approved, but when he got ready to purchase, they both increased in price by the amounts reflected on your resolution.
And what is the Vermac sign?
That is the big marquee flashing sign. One of them got destroyed in the flood. Is anybody from street? Yeah, the ones we use
Oh,
periodically.
the one that we sometimes have here on the.
Yeah, yes. Yep.
It's to replace one that got destroyed.
I've tried to have him always have two available for different things. And so, yeah, one of them was destroyed. The reason he put it in the budget originally.
There's not any of them on like a state bid that will start going away.
Well, you get what you pay for on that. The electronic stuff, and to everybody that I've talked to says you're wasting your time. You're going to spend more money
Gotcha.
because you don't know if it's been in a flood too. So
So we're adding 14,000 to his. I swore I wasn't gonna vote for anything for street till the traffic signals got fixed. I swore on my life. You know, I was behind a sheriff. I got behind a sheriff deputy the other day sitting there at Coker going towards Fort Smith, east or northbound, whatever you call it. I just wanted to pass him and say, please stop me so we can discuss this. I mean, we sat there for no reason at this light for 35 seconds. It's just,
Burn yet.
35 seconds.
I'm so mad about it. I mean, I get so mad. Road rage. And then that turns into me running some old lady off the road down there by the dairy. And then I got to wait at that line because the turn arrow is going up in Denver. And I just sit there with no traffic. And then 50,000 cars back up. And then people say, why do we got traffic in Greenwood? Because the traffic signals aren't set right. And I've been grabbing about this for 10 years. Well, the street department's going to get a part. There's a part we can buy. There's a camera. There's a passive pressure pad. They redid the concrete and and they repaved it. It never gets fixed right, ever. It's frustrating. So and I told my wife, I said, I'm not voting for anything for the street department until those dang traffic lights are fixed.
Is this road rage?
I'm having road rage right now. I'm speeding on the way.
I got a free, those street lights for you. And can make them open up and flow more during the school traffic and then slow down on a timer when there's nobody there.
Sir, I've been telling this panel, we've got cars currently driving around on Mars, the planet Mars, and we can't figure out how to get our traffic signals to flow traffic properly.
Everybody calls this place Baby Branson.
Yeah.
One road in, one
All right,
out.
so on the table is increasing.
Mr.
tractors.
Marston, how does that budget look for that?
It's a little unfair of a question. They have it in their current funds. That's the same answer I did when we talked about the increase for parks. Can they do it this year? Yes, they have removed these capital expenditure items to the street department's operational fund and took it away from city sales and use tax for obvious reasons. However, what that does is it's banking on the future. So what won't they have when they come around next time when they're looking at what the revenue streams are? Their revenue streams are not county sales tax, just city and turnbacks from the state. So, I mean, we have to look at the whole picture to know can they spend it? Yes, they have money, they can spend it. That's your purview.
Well, if we hold off on the sign, which is, I guess, 18,900, that kind of covers the additional cost for the tractor and the boom until we kind of see what the budget looks in next week.
The amount that you're looking to increase is only 14,210. But one day it'll be another, and then next day it'll be another, and all I can tell you is that, I was asked to put this in the resolution form and give it to you, but it's kind of putting the cart before the horse, in essence, because the meeting that's gonna show you what they have and where they are in their spend is next.
Well, I guess I kind of look at it, they originally in the budget was 10,000. And so if you kind of look that, we're a net increase of 4,000 maybe, to the overall budget. If we don't do the Vermac sign right now, don't do that, we're just increasing the budget overall by 4,000. Is that reasoning correct?
In their grand scheme of things, the 14,000 is not a significant number. But I guess my commentary was on every time you look at me, is it in the budget? I don't know how to answer that as a yes or no. It's almost like I'm the one that's pulling the strings and I'm not, and you guys are. So I'm just telling you, if it's negative and it will cause them some irreparable harm in their cash flow, I will speak up on that. But they have the money now, and what I responded in a question that, because Casey was very concerned about cash flow. He was very concerned about, is this new, if we had to go this route, is this doable? And it is doable. It's doable this year. But I can't tell you, we have to look down the road. What is it gonna do down the road? And that's discussions we have to have. He has to be very cognizant of some of the other wishes and wants that he has, and you have to hold those in check until you can see what the revenue streams are doing.
Well, I like how the mayor uses these signs, and I mean, they communicate a lot of things going on in the city, but kind of in light of what I've heard tonight, as far as the money coming in and money going out, I think that's one thing that maybe we could postpone or whatever and look more down the road. And so I'd like to eliminate the signboard, but approve the other two.
That's fine. I mean, I'm not speaking on behalf of Jeff. I guess I kind of am. I think that's wise in the sense that if you're going to take something out, it ought to be the board. We are, as you know, have taken on all the mowing that is overlaid through town. So that's all on us now. I used to be able to gripe at RDOT and say, hey, they're not mowing it, but that's on us. So these other two items are very important to that. So yeah, and he can live without that other sign. They're handy to have, but
I agree.
but $8,900.
My other question on this quote, I guess, for the message board is in the notes, it says taxes and applicable fees are not included in the 18,900. So is that going to end up being 20,015 or whatever? You know what I'm saying?
Put down the numbers that told me,
Where's that?
On this-
Taxes and amicable fees not included.
oh, is that on the sign?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's, you're taking it out.
I'm just, okay. Later on down the
That
road.
would have to be added in.
Right.
Yeah.
When it comes back up for the final.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what the freight charge is, but if that's getting, that means they're shipping it from Van Buren, I bet we can run over
So
and
did
get
you
it
make a motion?
for 20.
I think they went to get the last ones over there, but okay.
We can look into that.
I make a motion that we adopt the resolution with the exclusion of the Burmac board sign.
I second it.
Motion second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Maker?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. That actually is all the items on the agenda. We've already done number 15 earlier. So department reports and questions from council. We've got a few here. Anybody wants to address the directors? You only
Street
once?
department guy here?
No.
Okay.
But what, is there something you need me to,
Yeah.
is there something about a light?
So hey, I'll tell you what, y'all meet me there at the square in the morning about 5:10. Just get in and watch me party. It's a lot of fun. You'll hear language you've never heard before, and you'll see me. I mean, yeah.
So I do got one question.
Yes, sir.
So the new Dollar General Market
Okay.
in my neighborhood,
Mhm.
when they were cutting the curb and I guess pouring the driveway, they busted up some of, what is that road there? That east
Ridgecrest.
Ridgecrest. They busted some of that up. I mean,
And it's not back? They didn't replace it?
No.
Hunter, have you, no? Shaking your head.
No, but
Surely it's bothering.
I'm aware of that. When I spoke to the contractor and the printer, they said they had an agreement with each other to get that resolved. Jeff had mentioned something about us working with them to fix that.
We're also addressing an issue there at that crosswalk with RDOT. I won't go into detail because I was standing there, but I don't know what all we're going to be responsible for, but that's going to be beefed up, in my terminology, to make that more safe for those kids. So it's going to look a little different according to, in fact, I don't know how it got that way, but we weren't compliant. When I say we, yeah, it wasn't compliant to begin with. So we're going to have to redo that a little bit, and that's on us, but it's for the better. It's for the good of the kids that are crossing. So I don't know where that curb is is it up north?
On Ridgecrest.
It's on Ridgecrest. It's just
Okay.
when when
The new drive?
the new drive,
Okay.
they just busted up some of the asphalt.
Well, it's
there.
April 1st, and my man's gonna drive by all the time, and we'll see how quick it takes to get our agreement to repair. These agreements that don't come through the right channels are getting old,
Yeah, because that's a cost to the city.
100%.
And it just,
I don't
I
know
mean, you
anything.
got a brand new Dollar General there and then the road's busted up leading into it. I mean, just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I addressed that with the contractor, but it's still not fixed.
We got a fire marshal, where's he at?
Times, and he said he would take care of it.
but now the store's open and people rolled out of town, so.
Is that when we don't issue a certificate of occupancy, of occupancy before?
That's not supposed to happen until all those dots or I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
I'm not too stressed about it because I can correct it relatively easily.
Shouldn't have to.
It's just aggravating, but like I say, take care of it.
Who issues those certificates, Sonny or Hunter? Okay, well, put that on your to-do list.
So,
Well, I mean, if I'm not informed, hold off, which I think we had a conversation about it, but it was never a formal, don't issue this. So if I don't get that, I have no reason not to issue.
Well, when there's something on a new job site that's out of city compliance, they cannot open for business until it meets our laws.
I don't know that it's technically out of city compliance.
A fire hydrant too high?
Just a hair.
Yeah, it's a violation because there's supposed to be so many inches from the plumb line to the ground.
We can have a fire marshal out back here, he can tell you.
Yeah, I mean, my point of view on that is they should have voiced their opinions prior to that.
Well, that goes both ways. You can come to me and say, hey, I'm about to issue a certificate of occupancy. Do you have any issues in punch list because you knew?
Well, that goes back
I'm
to,
not pointing fingers. I'm saying there needs to be a little communication.
right, every job that opens should be, everybody involved should, the final checklist, y'all get together on the plat originally.
Yeah, I mean, that process is in place at the beginning of the project, but we've never had this issue at the end of a project. So open line of communication goes further than anything else.
I've been asked on one house or anything ever on certificates of occupancy if anything was okay. And that's been on, before your time, that's been kind of an ongoing thing.
And I look at that as that's our golden ticket or whatever, that we get them to do whatever they need to do because that,
Oh, for sure.
I won't know if that's issue on there or not.
Mhm.
Again, I wasn't real stressed about that. That's why I didn't make a big deal about it because at the end of the day, I go cut that out, cut the dirt down a little bit. And I've got an extra part that goes down the road. So that's been good 45 minutes. I'm not real stressed about that.
so how do we get our communication better among departments?
This was a process that I inherited, so changing that's on me. So, and I was unaware if it was ever previously an issue. If it's become an issue, that's an easy change.
It's never really been an issue, but it probably has been a lot of issues that we just didn't know about.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's never been brought to my attention that it was an issue. I mean, that's a fairly easy, that's an email sent out to department heads. It's
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you.
It would seem that before you issue that certificate, each department head.
like I said, the process that I inherited was this as such.
He got small shoes.
Oftentimes, there's not any water or anything. In this case, there was. They relocated fire hydrant right in the middle of the driveway. They took one out and put a new one in. And so when they put the new one in, they got it put too high. Rather than be 2 inches too low,
Yeah.
and they come in 6-inch increments. I don't know why they didn't put a 6-inch one, but they got a foot one. And the problem with that is the hydrant doesn't break away correctly. And it's a, so we'll fix it. I'm not worried about it.
All right, we will open the line of communications between department heads and beginning and end of project. That's easy enough. Anything else for any other department head?
I was just wondering, Mayor, just, the eclipse is coming, I mean, what is
Yep.
the city? We're
Yep.
all prepared.
We have had meetings, we as the city, we did. We kind of talked about having something, but we decided not to have an event. You see a few other towns, Boonville. I envy them a little bit, but also don't envy them. So we're going to just be here. The only thing that we've done, again, there's another meeting coming up about the eclipse. We've been to several. We all know it's coming. I have ordered porta potties to be stationed through town, various places. We haven't decided exactly where those are going to be. So that's the least we can do, but we don't have an event. So I've told the department heads today just to be safe and to know where their employees are at that time. And we can kind of joke about it. It's only 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Well, it's not. It's leading up to it and it's after the fact, because if things happen as it did in 2017, they didn't make any of this stuff up. It was crazy in other parts of the country. So,
I got some $500 bargain over.
do you? Okay. That's the cheapest that's cheapest I've heard, John. You need to fix that. police department is well aware and is fully staffed or will be and doing, making every precaution. Chief has got, I gave him a blessing, if you will, of having how many guys you're going to have on, going to have 5 guys on staff over there during the day at the fire department. We're just, and again, we don't have an event, but
I'd like to just stress though, I know it's not our job to raise children, but we need to make sure parents double up on their children, let them know that there's a possibility of being a lot of kooks from out of town
Sure.
come into this deal, and they need to make sure
Yep.
you don't let your kids roam free that day, or that weekend, or whatever. I hate to be that way, but
I
never know.
totally agree. And we'll put some stuff out on our site, just reminding people. Yes, sir.
Just to let the council know, like the ambulance, Smash County EMS, don't have an ambulance.
Yeah.
On the north side, one in Lavaca, one in Midland, I think one in, not Huntington, Mansfield, and then a couple of years, we're gonna have like 5 ambulances staffed that day. We're expecting a lot of medical traffic, and so that's probably what most of our guys are gonna be doing, hopefully they'll have a crash. We'll have that, and I'll stack a couple guys out there at Station 2, right around the town real quick. But, gave the mayor what I got from emergency management today.
Yeah.
We're expecting cloud cover in the majority of that area.
Except for here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cloud cover from basically Sebastian County all the way past Hot Springs down over there, all that's supposed to have rain, cloud cover, and we're the only 25% chance or partly cloud. We're partly cloud.
So we stand a chance of having even more people coming in.
So what you're saying is we got a chance.
We got a chance.
What you're saying is
I don't know.
I got a chance.
The county's taking it real serious. I've attended all but one of those meetings. They're not joking around with it. They're very serious, and they've got, I say the county, everybody. And so they're taking it real serious and trying to be prepared as much as you can for it. So. Oh, I know. I want to say this real quick before we get to council forum, just to butt in a minute. I do want to remind or ask everybody to consider praying, or if you would put Kristen Falkenberry on your list. Kristen is runs the police department. I don't mean that literally, but she keeps those guys in line over there, and she's going in for surgery tomorrow. She has a tumor. They're going to remove that, and we're going to pray that things go well with the surgery and that it's not malignant. She's a brave soul, and so I know they're missing her over there already. So
Is this Danielle's sister?
yes, Danielle's sister.
Okay.
She's the Danielle of PD and vice versa. So they run both areas. So great lady, and covets your prayers for her and her family. Also, we did this morning in our department head. So we had a prayer for her, and we also, Chief asked that we remember his dad for health issues, and so have him in your prayer. Just remember those folks if you would, and yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. You had your.
I know, you're good. The last time I'll be in this phone call. I believe in looking after our elderly. And I nearly hit a woman. Mrs. Nola Lisa was with me. It was just a matter of inches and seconds, and God behind the wheel that saved me from hitting this woman and killing her right there in front of that assisted living, whatever it is, and that. And just as I slammed on the brakes, she just come out with like that and just went like that, just did not even look up, just walked, dead, snapped and rolled right in front of me. We thought and we are also responsible if that place can't look after its people. We've got to find a way as a city, as human beings, to look after these poor old people. I mean, I understand some of them are there, they're dropped off by their families. Some of them are bipolar. They've got all sorts of different mental and medical. And I understand we have no more institutions anymore for men because it's supposedly cruel. But is there anything that we can do to our governor? Can we, as a town, say, we got to protect these people from themselves because, you know, they're turned out. I don't know if there was a way that if they're going to let people like recreation, let them out. Let's put a stop sign. That'll save their lives. And I would not want to live with myself killing someone's grandmother or great grandmother because somebody, it was just not physically, and we can do things, you know, I don't know what, but it was great. You've done a great job, man. Guys, I knew what you were doing. You're trying to give them a safe place to go, but their capacity for them to understand, and you know,
They
it
still
does.
walk across. Yeah.
Just drop and walked right out in front of, and I mean, it was down and it was like right there, bumper, and there she was with her head down, right at the edge of the hood of my, and I was like, what are we gonna do?
So and I say we, I don't know who was in that meeting. It was years ago. I was not mayor. I think I was the parks director at the time. We had a meeting in this building with at that time, the owner of that facility. You guys remember that? Were any of you in on that? And no, I take that back. She wasn't present, but it was a meeting. Gary Grimes was there and a few other guys, and it was a meeting to address that issue at that facility. And I didn't feel like we got anywhere because it was just almost one of those, we can gripe and we can complain, but she has license to run it. So I'm all with you. We did put sidewalks, and that doesn't mean, and I even knew when we put them in, we spent $600,000 on sidewalks, but that doesn't mean they're going to use them. Some of them do, but they still cross. So I don't know if the owner is still, does anybody know?
Yes, I do. It's still Linda Short. She is
Okay.
the owner of that one and the center in Marley.
Yeah.
It's assisted living. And in this particular facility, I have been told that there's a lot of mental illness. So if you have any interaction with them, I've noticed some new residents that are coming into restaurants
Yep.
and trying to get any kind of food or drinks.
She also asking for it, it's 2 stores.
We can't do
Do what?
anything about it. Like you said, Linda has all of the licenses. And
Oh, really?
Two
we
elderly
can't
ladies.
restrict them because it is assisted living.
All green
So they
and
can't
case.
come and go as they please. That's just a business in town that unfortunately probably is gonna have to continue to deal with and work with. I mean,
I would,
we've had somebody get killed. No, we
I'd-
can't, 'cause I mean, it's a business.
yeah, I would reach out to your reps and those folks, whether it's Lee Johnson or whoever, and try, and I mean, I don't mind asking them around. We've done this before and seeing what can be done, if anything can be done, but they need a place. Obviously, nobody says they don't, but it needs to be off of a state or it's not a state highway anymore, but it's dangerous. It's a real danger.
And these people, they're not talking about
Yeah.
And, you know, heaven forbid, it's, you know, I don't want to preordain something bad to happen. But something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah. No, we
So thank you all.
appreciate it, Bruce. Thank you. Council forum.
Well, I see Mr. Buddy Lloyd back there. I just want to kind of give him an update on where we are with the Masonic Lodge, and you and I have discussed a little bit, but if you got a Cliff's Notes version, just so you can send something back to the guys.
I've started working on a ground lease or air lease or whatever you want to call it. It's turned both ways. I've requested copies of a couple that I know about, but I mean, if you guys are good with that, I've had a phone call from another Mason asking if there were any other options, but I mean, y'all tell me what you want to do. And as of now, I'm trying to put together a lease between the city and the Masonic Lodge.
Is that what y'all were expecting, Tim?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what y'all were expecting, Buddy? A lease between the city and the Masonic Lodge?
Is that what you were expecting? He asked if you were expecting a lease between the city and the Masonic Lodge.
How are y'all coming on your sale?
What kind of sale?
Well, of the Masonic Lodge.
After meeting with the lady from RDOT, she agreed to a price and we agreed to counter at that price. We're just waiting for their official acceptance.
Okay.
So you don't have, that happened in my conference room, which was kind of amazing for her to do that right there and then. So you haven't got paperwork.
We still had to make the paper trail.
Okay.
Even though she accepted
Yeah.
the amount that we said, we still had
Right.
to make an official
Okay.
counter.
Okay.
That is in their hands now, and I'm going to say it back to you today.
Okay.
Y'all are wanting this lease agreement pretty quick then.
Yeah, there's dump trucks running through our doors.
Do we need to have a special call meeting? Do y'all need?
Well, we can't do anything until we get the paperwork back from the DOT
So that's gonna be a couple weeks.
or RDOT, whatever you call it.
The one thing that we discussed,
Uh,
whenever the city was offering to lease it to us for 100 years, at the end of the 100 years, which I'm not worried about.
Right.
Bless you.
But it was gonna be renewable at that point in time, to make sure it says that.
Yeah.
Them will have a terrible time.
The authority to enter into lease, I have some authority to do some things, and I can't remember if that's one of them.
I think so.
I think I do.
The contract.
Contract, yeah, I mean, I do that all the time, so short of a special call meeting to try to get that done,
Yeah.
if that comes across my desk,
I would say enter it.
okay. Because we're all on the same, I don't think anybody's out of the book or off a different page on this at all.
Is that all right, Travis?
Yeah, I'll have it to him by the end of the week. It's just a little different than a normal lease. It's not something that we do all the time. So I just want to put my eyes on a couple.
Yes, sir, buddy? What? What was that?
No.
How much was the lease?
Oh, 6 million? For 99 years, come on. I don't think we voted or they voted on this. I guess we're looking at it, unless I'm way off base here, y'all talking about a token
$1.
dollar a year for 100 years, or $1 for 100 years. I don't think it matters. So,
So for the next 100 years, we got to see Tim walking here with $1.
right.
I'll do it.
They wanted to pay it up.
They were to pay it up.
I'll do that too.
$100. Okay. There you
So, okay.
Okay.
But the sticking point wasn't the lease period and renewal lease.
Yep.
If they ceased becoming
Right.
a need for that property,
Right.
how it reverts back to the city. And because they have a building on it, and that's why the area.
They're the area.
suggested.
Right.
And those are the clauses that I want to see examples of.
Okay.
And then ASAP, once that rolls in, we'll, obviously we got a building inspector who's pretty stringent, is that the right word I'm looking for? Stringent, thank you very much. So you guys can hopefully get that started and get you a building over there on that property.
I just wanted you guys to know what we all. Oh, it's real quick.
Yeah.
It's not as hard.
Okay.
What's the latest on the senior citizen bill?
Senior Citizen Center is this. We're getting ready to go out for the third time for bids on this thing. Made it very clear, kind of like a rock clause, right? That you keep telling people there's rock up there and they don't believe you, but I have made it very, very clear to our engineer, architect, that we have a $500,000 grant, no more, period. So it goes out for bid, hopefully within a few days. You haven't heard anything, have you? That's going back out for bid for the third time. And we have high hopes of getting that down. Now, the good news is, I'd rather share the good news later if it is good news. Hopefully we get some things back in there that they took out originally. It's just this crazy game that you have to play a little bit, but hopefully we get this thing back and it comes in at budget. But I'll let you know just as soon as I know.
I had some people ask. That's
Sure,
all.
and I don't blame them,
They want to know when they get in that new building.
absolutely.
So I don't know if you just, did you just answer the question or what we're waiting on what to get in there?
It has to go back out for bid for the third time.
I mean, what are we bidding on? Just renovations?
Renovations, yes. Well, and additions. What I originally wanted and was in what I call the Taj Mahal was additions on the back of this property. What was the square footage? We were adding square footage to the back of the building.
Yeah, it was 20 by 45.
Yeah, of a game room, I mean, a billiard room and a card playing room, and then all the other little details. So that got removed one time with value engineering. Now we put it back in there, and we're trying to make sense of all this and not bid or not spec the most expensive things in the world, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So that's where we are, and hopefully within a couple of weeks. Once those goes out, it'll be 2 weeks, I think, and then we'll know. Mr. Dunn? Yes, sir.
I'd just like to say I appreciate on behalf of myself and gun owners of Arkansas, Mr. Meeker, Mr. Plummer, Brad, I appreciate the work you guys did to change the language in that and clarify it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anything else, council? What? Storecraft. Who said that? Oh, you said
I don't know who said it.
that.
I just heard
That was nice.
It's for sale.
So,
it. Is it?
not yet. You want to get them up to date on where we are, what we've done, Storecraft building?
Yes, so the mayor's entered the mayor has entered an order and proclamation. Thank you. Mayor's entered an order and proclamation basically condemning the property, labeling it as a nuisance. However, we tried to file a lien against the property because we sent that notice to the owner who didn't respond. The clerk didn't want to file the lien because certain amounts were over 120 days old because we've got years worth of invoices that haven't been paid. So I believe we're going to get demolition work done on the residential side.
Correct.
And then we're going to resubmit the lien to the county for filing. And I don't know, Hunter's working on that demolition.
Demolition is referring to the house on.
It's all connected. That property's all connected.
So months, years.
Does he have the owner's in contact info?
He's actually,
I
I put them together one time.
I can get it to him.
now you're getting me saying words that
Yeah.
nobody said.
Yeah, they've had a conversation and,
Or two.
yeah.
But you've given Hunter the green light
Yes.
to go ahead and
As far as the demo, yes,
I think
absolutely.
he's already got a bid. So it's
Yeah, they allocated money for that. It's in the budget.
Somebody blasted.
I will say, and I
Is it
don't,
for
I've
fire
talked to
training?
John in a while about it because, well, that building is, we entered it not too long ago, and it's just worse than it was the time before, last time I was in there. It's just
I'm prepared to go in there and spend $1 million.
continues.
I'll start tomorrow.
I like fire training facility.
Well, he's wanting to.
I know he.
Yeah. So we hope we don't take a deer. We'll see.
Hey, guess what? Lowe's isn't gonna go on hold.
Do what?
Lowe's isn't gonna.
Oh, I know.
They're not gonna say, I hope you can get this stuff made for me. They're gonna say, find the building.
Yep. We're going about as fast. I mean, it's, you know how it is, but we're trying. I mean, I want you in there. I want, yeah. Anything else? Anybody?
Make a motion. We adjourn.
Hunter had something.
Hunter, boy, you were so close.
One clarification before we adjourn to the evening. I have only issued a temporary certificate of occupancy on the Dollar General. I contacted the contractor a while ago. We are going to be out there tomorrow morning looking at the asphalt, and we'll be addressing the fire hydrant.
Curb too.
The curb, anything that's torn up that's not to our standards and specs, we'll be addressing tomorrow.
Good job.
Good job.
So
I think-
Butter has a question.
Sonny would
What
never.
are they gonna do with the old building?
Old Dollar General.
Old Dollar.
It's the same.
As far as I know, they're keeping it. This
Yeah,
one's a
it's two different
different, it's a
entities.
Dollar General market, so
Okay.
we should be
My
keeping it
wife's
up.
in love with it.
Mine too.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I got the last bacon bits.
I
up
may,
there tonight.
Made
we adjourn.
I make a motion. We
All
adjourn.
right, guys.
Second. Thank you very much.
I haven't been in here yet, but she said it's.
Let's go.
She's like, they got everything.
Oh, it's heaven. Right
She
there,
said it
handy.
looks so much bigger inside.
Right.
than that.